I'm Commander Shepard, and the Unnamed Games podcast is my favorite podcast on the Citadel. Shepard out.
Hello, people of the internet, and what did you think of my new intro? Did you like it?
Star Trek! Yay!
Star Trek! Whoosh! I was pissing myself. I know. Before we started, you said when we come in, have this kind of look on your face, which I did. But it was so difficult to do that because I laughed so much through that. Every time Star Trek, whoosh! I was creased up.
I think
ridiculously
it was
funny.
the first time with the where you were like did the whole intro, and then there was the whoosh. I'm just like
Star Trek. Star Trek.
So good. Yeah, well done.
That was my retort to the last.
Well played.
Well done, sir. That was amazing.
That took me about 3 hours to make that.
Mate, that was 3 hours well spent. That was 100%.
You said it's no way this is as good as Ratley's, but I tell you what, that was definitely up there. That was genius.
Awesome.
I have to say though, if Paramount actually sees our podcast, which let's be honest is highly unlikely, we will lose all the millions of pounds of royalties that we normally receive for doing these.
Alan, hold on. Highly unlikely. We have 200 subscribers now, which is a large number.
Yeah.
So
we're big time now.
We're officially influencers now, mate.
Yep. Well, that's why we're wearing the shades, because I don't want to be recognised.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
See, amateur hour over here. Amateur hour still just appearing.
That's it. You see, that's it. Yeah. So
sorry. I'm doing the podcast at the minute. I can't sign your autograph. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
You may be wondering about the shades. There is actually no story behind it.
There's no reason.
No, I put some shades on, then Alan did, and that was it, really. So yeah, they're off now. So I'm really glad to be back. I had a couple of weeks off because I've had a very, very busy couple of weekends, and obviously Ratley kindly stepped in for me and did the hosting, which he did a cracking job. I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you. Hence why I had to step my game up on the intro a little bit on that one there. But for your audio listeners, obviously, you can hear Mr. Ratley Ratster. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm not bad, mate. I'm not bad. Been a busy day and, all that. But, yeah, I'm good.
Good stuff, man. And Mr. Alan Longfangs Howlett. How are you, sir?
I'm really good, thanks, mate. I'm really glad to be here. Nice rest last week when we played some D&D, me and you and a few other people. I had a lot of fun, but it's good to be back.
I hope I get to hear a bit about this D&D adventure tonight.
I think a bit later on we can go through a little bit of D&D. I think,
I want to hear some D&D adventures.
It's been good stuff. Right, so this week we're going to go and just go through what we've been up to really this week. And there's not really been a lot going on in the news. So actually, we're not going to have a talking point because there's nothing that we're really that interested in talking about. So there's no point forcing it. So instead, I put a little quiz together for Alan and Ratley. So we'll see who's going to be the winner. But that comes at the end. So let's get started. Now, the very first place that I would like to start is with Mr. Alan. So Alan has a tale of the PC Master Race discovery that he's been on. Would you like to talk us through it? Now, Chris hasn't heard this. I have.
I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this.
So there's a reason for many, many years that I didn't actually have a PC. One of them was that I didn't have enough money, but also one of them was that I was.
It's a big stumbling block.
It's kind of a big one, yeah. But
that'll be it.
But also equally the ease and use of a console cannot be denied, and never was it in my mind more illustrated than my adventure that I went on this week in attempting to play Anno 1800, which I noticed in the Epic Games Store dashboard was being advertised as being on a trial week this week from the something like the 14th to the 19th, and if you downloaded it on trial, then you got 67% off. And this is an RTS type city builder game that I've had my eye on for many years, and I was very enthusiastic, especially getting it at that reduced cost. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go in and install it. So I went on and I thought I'll install it. So I left it overnight downloading because I don't have Craig's internet, and the next day I came back to it and I went onto the Epic Games Store dash, and it's sitting up there on there, the little square you get with the picture Anno 1800, and I click on it and it says launch underneath, and I click on it and it goes running, and nothing happened. And then it went back to launch. And I did this about 5 times, going, why aren't you working? Right. So I did what any self-respecting person would do. I went onto the internet and I did Googled it. And somebody said, the problem is that what you need to do is you need to download the Uplay browser. It doesn't tell you that in the Epic Game Store browser, but apparently it won't work direct from the Epic Game Store, which is where it told you got it from or where you installed it from. You have to go to the Ubisoft browser and download that. So I then downloaded that, where I have to say, the first thing I noticed when I went to the Ubisoft webpage that had that is that it had about 3 adverts that were bigger than the download button for the actual Uplay browser app that were just like download. And if I had actually bothered to read it, like most people would just be like, oh, download, and click the first one, I would have downloaded something I didn't want in the first place. When I literally discovered the little tiny button in the middle, which was actually the Uplay one, I downloaded it. And from there, I then scrolled down and then told me about installing it, and then I play it on there, and I finally got it to work, and it uploaded on the Uplay. I had to create an account, all of this stuff. Think I'm going to play the game now, really excited. Press play, 18 gigabyte update. Why didn't it download the 18 gigabyte update when it installed it? Why didn't it do that? So I couldn't play it that night either, because I then had to leave my computer on overnight again, downloading the 18 gigabyte update. And then finally, 4 days after I started, 4 days, 1 day left of the free trial, I managed to download this game and play it. It's really good, by the way. I'll have more of a review next week when I've only played it for a couple of hours, but it is very, very pretty, and I like it very much. But my God,
PC Master Race, baby.
How to make something so complicated that should be so simple? And it doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't say this game needs to be played in the Uplay browser, even though we're offering it in the Epic store. It's like
so I can match that, Alan, for everything. It's a lot of it's a Ubisoft or a problem, because I wanted to just trial the Division 2 on PC a while back, just to see what it was like, see how it ran on my machine, things like that. So I mainly play that on Xbox, and I was like, oh, I'll see how I can get the trial from. And I was hunting around, and I was like, oh, I can get the trial from the Epic Game Store. Cool, I'll download the trial. And then it's like, no, you need Uplay. I was like, son of a fuck, you know, the exact same thing. Fortunately, I didn't have all the problems which were then like, here's an update, and here's an update, and here's an update, and here's an update, and here's an update. And even if I did, I've got internet like Craig, so I'm just like, go, peasant, and it's there, you know. So, you know, so it's. But I totally relate. It is this stupid thing with PCs where sometimes and it's a developer issue because they don't put the point of saying you need to do this. But
what was that?
I don't know. What was that?
Oh, was that your speaker just?
Yeah, I forgot it was on.
I was like, is that a Star Trek door? Is Craig just adding random Star Trek sound effects to this episode? What's going on? So yeah, anyway, I can totally relate. I've been there, done that. But yeah, you kind of, I think I'm more.
It's a terrible customer experience, really.
Oh yeah.
And it makes me appreciate even more so. And I know we've talked on here previously. I'm not doing the whole console wars thing because I know that PlayStation is not the best at delivering to their customers an easy and free-form experience, and we've talked about this. But then it does make you appreciate what Microsoft do and this quick play and quick resume and all of these features that they add into their console and their infrastructure to make it so simple to play and upgrade their games. I've never had problems like I've had.
To add to that, though, when you experience the Microsoft Store on PC, it's absolute garbage.
God, yeah.
Yeah, it is as well.
So I was going to say, the thing is that I'm not to fanboy on Xbox, but I think one thing that we've all talked about at length, and I think it's been so just underrated and unthought about, is that smart delivery is just, I mean, how that is just and it's like, again, it was the fact that one of the reasons I didn't buy Tiny Tina's was because they circumvented smart delivery and went, no, if you want the Series X version, you have to pay for it and get a separate download. I'm like, come on, like they've put the best system in place for this. It's all there for you. Just use it. Just use the damn thing, why don't you? And because when it works, it just works. Like I can literally have it on, whatever, and it's like, oh no, I'm going to play it on this machine. It'll download the right one. I mean, I only have the one Xbox now, but if I were to set up an Xbox down here, I could do that. It's easy.
Yeah. I think if you're on a PC, the core you've got to have your Xbox stuff installed. You've got to have EA Play or Origin or whatever it's called. You've got to have Uplay. You've got to have Steam. You've got to have Epic. You've got to have the Rockstar, games launcher. GOG, yeah, all those things. Just have them installed because you're gonna come across this problem at some point. If you buy a game from a particular developer or a particular publisher, then it needs some kind of authentication. Looking at you, EA, exactly the same.
Yeah,
Huh?
EA and Ubisoft are the two big ones. The problem is like even CD Projekt. If you buy a game on Steam, one of their games, you can just play it on Steam. You don't have to have GOG installed.
It's DRM free, isn't it?
Yeah, it's DRM free. GOG is DRM free. It's CDPR of DRM free on any platform, aren't they? CDPR themselves. But yeah, like that's just it, so it's those two big the two biggest arseholes in the gaming space. Let's be honest, are EA and Ubisoft in this respect, and it shows they're the two that have the worst customer service on PC. So yeah, I can totally relate, Alan. But yeah, it was a pleasure to listen to that rant. I have to say.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Got there in the end.
Yeah, but talking about really great services, we decided to take advantage. We decided to take advantage of Xbox Game Pass again the other day. So we managed to grab together. It was myself, Alan, and Phil all on at the same time, which is a rarity these days.
It is.
And Mr. Rattler, you're going to be really pleased when Alan tells you what we've been playing. What have you been playing, Alan?
Well, we have been playing Aliens Fireteam.
Yeah,
which I believe you mentioned a little while back, and I have to say it was quite an achievement because we were talking, weren't we, the other night, Craig? That I think again it's kind of like everybody's kind of drifted off and they do their own thing, and it's quite. We used to spend an awful lot more time together on the console, actually, playing a lot of multiplayer games together, and it just doesn't happen. So we specifically set some time aside, and amazingly, Phil was there at 7 o'clock, not 10 o'clock. So it was quite a stunning achievement from Phil, I have to say.
He was still last online.
He was still last, yeah. And it was a couple of minutes past 7. I'm just giving him, but still, I mean, I was quite surprised. He was ready and everything, and he didn't have to quickly nip off to the loo 2 seconds before we started, like he does with the pod. Yeah, so it's quite an achievement for him.
I was going to say that exact thing before we started today. It was like, this is exactly the time that Phil would go, I need to just go.
Yeah. I know we've only got 30 seconds, lads, but I'll just go and grab a drink and go for a pee.
I need to get a beer.
All right, Phil. But yeah, I have to say that it was 3 games we can't, because I went through the whole library, didn't I, Craig, of what's in Game Pass, although it didn't show all of the games, so we noticed some were missing, but we went through and there were 3 that I downloaded. One was, which was Need for Speed. Which one is that?
Need for Speed Heat.
Heat, which we'll have a go on in a little while. Yeah. I thought it'd be fun because it's an arcadey racer. And the other one was, and we're going to talk about that in a bit as well, which was Warhammer Inquisitor, which I've actually been playing on PC. Martyr, which is another one which is multiplayer. But Aliens Fireteam was one that I think that kind of stood out to all of us because you've mentioned it before, Chris, and you were saying, we should all play it. And I have to say, I had an absolute blast. I thought, don't get me wrong, there are faults with it.
100%.
It's not a perfect game, but as far as what was good about it, things I want to say that were good about it, the first thing that jumps out at me in a big way is the sound and the music.
Yeah.
The sound and the music in that game is absolutely bang on. It's perfect. The music is almost it's movie like. It's almost like everywhere you go, this music kind of undulates depending on what's going on or what area you're in, and it's almost Zimmer like. It's just fantastic. Whoever did that music,
you can tell whoever did the music spent a lot of time listening to the Aliens score.
Absolutely.
And I need to sort of pull as much as I can without ripping it off. Like
particularly Aliens 2.
Well, it's the Aliens score 100%, almost everywhere, and like
there's a bit where the drum starts going when they're at
it's taking that audio language that the guys developed and that identity the film's got and going, right, I need to use that information to inform my score, and it's why it works.
It really stands out. It really sets the atmosphere.
100%.
Which is good because one of the negatives that I found with it was the story was pretty pants. What story there is really bland, completely forgettable, and doesn't make you want to continue on. It's the combat that really makes you want to carry on. But the sound effects in the combat are also great, and there aren't many Alien games, I have to say, because there've been 1 or 2. Even Colonial Marines, and I know everybody generally hates that, but even the sound in Colonial Marines was still good. It's hard to get wrong, but in Fireteam, it's still absolutely bang on. The sound of the pulse rifles, the sound of the aliens as they die, screaming, and just everything, and the sound of the tracker and all that. It all adds to the atmosphere of the universe you're in, and it's all absolutely bang on. The combat, it always felt like, because we've only played through the first campaign, and there are 4 campaigns. That's one thing I was a little disappointed about, because it's been out since when? August last year? So I was quite surprised that there wasn't any additional content already.
There's more coming. They did lay out a roadmap. There is more coming. They've done so that what you've had so far in content is like additional weapons and
I noticed that.
Mode.
Yeah, so that's one of the negatives, because I'm not very keen on that. It's like, oh, I've managed to get some scripts, which sounds like something, like an LA gang, like the Crips would probably begin. It's got to get some scripts, man. But anyway, the point is that I can go and get my shotgun and paint it orange.
Touch of LA culture there.
Yeah, I watched a documentary and everything. I'm an expert. But anyway, there's a fantastic documentary on Netflix about the history of the Crips and the Bloods. By the way, you really should watch it. It's very, very interesting and really cool. It was the best intro ever.
It was pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
It was pretty spectacular.
Makes Chris's look a bit rubbish, if I'm honest.
Easy.
It was no. I don't mean that badly. What I mean is the fact it's just a Star Trek.
I mean, it's certainly far more ridiculous than what I did. And I thought mine was kind of daft.
Yours is brilliant. Yours is brilliant. I'm just joking. But yeah, so the combat, it just feels like you always feel like you're just on the raggedy edge all the way through. So we were playing it on normal. I don't like to play games on super hard the first time I play them through. I like to enjoy the experience and the story in this. But I did enjoy the experience. But even with 3 of us, which is the maximum fire team you can have, it always felt like if we just let our guard down for a second, or we didn't concentrate, or we didn't work as a team, we were going to get overrun. And sometimes we did get overrun, and we were like, oh no, they're in the bay, and then we just like panicking a little bit, weren't we? And then it was in the first mission of the second campaign that we actually just TPK. Total party kill. And I was like, oh no, obviously we've got up our game now. We haven't really put into action what we learned in the first campaign. But it just feels like that combat just feels just like it's just perfect. Just right.
I can tell you something, Alan. Like, I will say this. It gets the next difficulty up. So you have the normal difficulty, then you have the intense difficulty, then there's extreme, and then there's one which I've never even been on, insane, I think it is. But the intense difficulty, which is the sort of, I guess you would call it hard, where friendly fire becomes a thing and things like that. That is where the game excels. Like it's such a legitimate experience. It's so good.
So one of the reasons that we did so badly on the first mission of the second campaign was that Phil found out that there was a flamethrower. Now the thing about the flamethrower is you're standing there's aliens running towards you, and you're like, okay, I'm ready, and then your entire screen is covered in a blanket of fire and you can't see anything. Before you know, there's an alien in your face, because it doesn't kill all of them, and you're like, oh my god. So it's not all Phil's fault. I'm not saying it is, but it definitely contributed to our downfall.
We banned the flamethrower on
it's great fun, but terrible.
Because we were playing on the higher difficulties where friendly fire things like, right, flamethrowers just are not a thing. We cannot use flamethrowers because we'll all die instantly. It'll be like everyone cooking everyone.
I think, when me and Ratley were talking about this previous, because obviously I played through the game before, and then, I jumped on with you boys for your first round through, because, I was really excited for you to try it, because I knew you would enjoy it. And we mentioned before, Chris, didn't we, that it feels like they've made such a great grounding for a brilliant sequel. Almost like how Assassin's Creed became Assassin's Creed 2. So actually with this next sequel, where they can actually start to put some cinematic into it, and some proper story, and really up the ante on some of those kind of encounters and things, because you got little teasers of it. I mean, we did this particular campaign.
Did you finish it?
Where you go
all 4 of them.
No, finished the first.
Okay.
First,
the
first episode. Whatever.
Okay, so I don't want to spoil it, but the last one.
Yeah,
the end of it is phenomenal, Alan. You'll have so much fun.
But I mean, there are things where you have to. I mean, I know most video games you have to suspend your disbelief, but it was like we stayed down for the second part of the first campaign, and then we were like, let's just nip back to the ship. So we nipped back to the ship, spent some time in the shop, and went back down again, where the scientist is waiting for us, going, please escort me out of here. You need to get me out of here. It's like, hang on a minute, we just teleported up to the ship. What's going on? Sorry, Chris, carry on.
So it was Craig was saying something when you jumped in. So.
So we had a little taste of some of the cinematics that you could do, and we did the one where you've got to go across the bridge, and then as you run across the bridge, the dropship comes in and just fires that airstrike down, which is such an amazing moment. So they could really up the ante on things like that. So I really do hope it was successful enough for them to do a sequel, because I think it could be something really special.
I think what I said at the time, and I remember saying this, is that I thought Fireteam would be a space filler between the releases like that and then Back for Blood, because Back for Blood was just around the corner, and I remember thinking there's no way that I'll be playing Fireteam once Back for Blood comes out, and Back for Blood launched, and I just kind of went, that's kind of rubbish. Hello, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
And I was like, yo, that's. It's this thing where Back for Blood was a massive disappointment. I think we've all played it. We've all come to that conclusion. I expected Left 4 Dead, and I got, it might as well be dead.
But you're on fire tonight, Ratley.
What was I say? And I kept saying, like, it amazes me how if I want that cooperative horde, like, mission experience thing, Fireteam is the best experience I've had in that kind of genre of game since probably Left 4 Dead 2, if I'm honest. And it surprised me because I honestly thought Fireteam would be an absolute, like, I mean, probably because of the Colonial Marines history. I was ready for Fireteam to be a massive disappointment.
Such a good game.
And Alan, honestly, like, you haven't even got to the good stuff yet. Like, there's mission 3 or episode 3 sort of has a flip reversal, and then like episode 4. The end of it, mate, is one of the greatest missions. It's so good, and it's really good fun, really intense, really gets the adrenaline going. Yeah. And also, you probably haven't experienced much with burn cards yet either, have you? The burn cards. Now, not all the burn cards are good.
We did one. We did one, but yeah.
Some of them are garbage, but there's a couple. There's one which I love, but it would make playing on the higher difficulties of it, I think, in my opinion, just totally unviable. Which is there's a one where it spawn a drone alien. The big drones that come on. It spawns one of them as soon as you enter the mission.
Jump back in the wall.
They're basically the tank of Fireteam. Yeah, it's when one of those appears, everybody's shouting "drone, drone," and then somebody gets grabbed by one, and everybody's like shooting at him, trying to.
Yeah, so you've got drone, warrior.
Or is it warrior?
I won't spoil what's coming actually, because there's newer, there's bigger ones coming as well.
Yeah,
but so the drone, what it will do is it will spawn a xenomorph drone almost as soon as you enter the mission. So 5 seconds into the mission, 10 seconds into the mission, and as soon as that is dead, there is then from that point onwards always an active drone in play. So as soon as you kill one, another one spawns. As soon as you kill one, another one spawns. As soon as you kill one, the whole way through the mission. That's on top of any drones that spawn normally, on top of any warriors that spawn normally, on top of all the other aliens that spawn normally. You've always got a drone chasing you. And I tell you what, man, the intensity that ropes up then is like boom, it's going to be roping up, and it's like, oh my god, and honestly, such a good experience. And you get to the end fights and stuff, and you're fighting it out with another extra drones coming in. You're like, ah! So honestly, some of the burn cards are amazing. Some of them are really rubbish. Like, why would I ever use that? One of them disables all the weapons but the pistols. I mean, not pistols, sidearms. So even if you've got a pistol, that's gone. It's just a little pea shooter sidearm. Like, I'm like, no interest in that, because I am not a sadist. So honestly, I love Fireteam, and me and Chat actually played it just recently. Went back in and had a couple of games, and we were like, why have we not played this more? This is a really fun game. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm waiting for the new content to drop, which hopefully should be soon. But yeah, Cold Iron, I think it went quite well for him, but I don't know. But yeah, definitely a thumbs up from me on Fireteam, 100%. And as you know, I'm quite picky on my Aliens games.
I hope so. I mean, one of my only caveats would be that as I say, it does seem a little content light, and I'm not sure how many times I'd want to sit through and play through those 4 campaigns. They're not particularly long, are they? No, there's
at least two playthroughs of that game where you'll enjoy it 100%, which is the standard playthrough and then the intense playthrough. The intense playthrough, honestly, Al, it's the exact same thing. The gameplay is significantly different because the intensity goes really high up. You're like, friendly fire becomes a thing, and you really are like, right, the only way you get through some of the later missions is literally like, I'm going here, you're going to call them out, say when you're firing, don't cross each other's line of fire, you've got to be on point, otherwise you just end up like someone walks in front of you and he's blam in the back of their head with a pulse rifle, and it's like, or the shotgun. Some of the shotguns are lethal in that game at close range. It's like, I just shot you in the back of the head with my shotgun, now you've only got half health, you're an idiot. I
love my shotgun. I love that shotgun. But
the shotguns are great in that game as well. Really, really good. If you haven't unlocked it yet, the auto shotgun is so much fun.
Yeah,
so much fun. Yeah, anyway,
Cold Iron. Yeah, Cold Iron, I think, did a cracking job, because the last thing they did was Star Trek Online, wasn't it? Before that, so it's such a different type game. And we had said that it'd be interesting to have not that type combat, but that control system and stuff in Star Trek Online. It's just so fun, the ground combat stuff, where on Star Trek Online it's really quite poor. It really lets the game down. But yeah, they could make something different. But kind of talking about, kind of developers that have different things in common, you've got a game that actually me and Alan have both been playing recently, that recently came out on on Game Pass, and it's actually from a couple of the guys who used to work for the Arcane, the Dishonored studio. So they've released a new game called Weird West, and I mean I've sunk a fair bit of time into it so far, a good few hours, and I think Alan Stokes sunk a bit into it as well. So just want to kind of go through it. Have you seen or heard anything about it yet, Chris? Or
I've heard a very brief description of it somewhere and went, that sounds moderately interesting, but I don't really know enough about it to like make any real comment. But what I heard, I remember going, oh, okay. Yeah, it piqued my interest, shall we say, but not enough for me to download it yet.
So just to kind of give it a bit of context to what it is, it's like an isometric twin stick shooter RPG with choice consequence. I think it's probably the best way to kind of describe it in a whole. You kind of start off the game, you basically play through it as various different characters throughout the campaign. And it's set in the Wild West, but it's a creepy, strange Wild West, hence the weird bit. There are vampires, there are zombies, there are werewolves, there are all these weird creatures in it.
Okay.
And yeah, the whole way through it, there's like kind of hub towns. You've got like an overarching map that say you've got a bounty to go and do that's over at the creek or something. You go to the map and you select where you're going, and it will say, oh, maybe it's a day and a half to get there. And you'll start to travel across, and you might get an encounter along the way where you get ambushed by wolves, or you might bump into a caravan where you can buy some goods off somebody. And you can shorten that time down if you get a horse and things like that. So it's got these cool elements. But one of the best things about it is that I like is the shooting mechanics are really, really fun. It's got like a slow down time mechanic. Plus, it's all environmental, the way that the damage works. So, for example, you can walk into an area and there'll be a whole bunch of guards. You could walk over and, say, kick over like a barrel of oil that would spill out over the floor, set a couple of mines over on the left, and then pick up a torch, lob it in and set fire to the oil, which will send them all running the wrong way into the mines. You can do like toxic damage with like toxic sludge type stuff. There's like lightning damage and things as well. So it
sounds like
makes
a lot of fun.
Yeah, it makes all the combat encounters really quite interesting. I mean, what was your take on the combat, Alan? How do you think?
I think combat is definitely one of the things that stood out to me. I'm at very Max Payne in the way that it works.
Isometric Max Payne, yeah,
exactly. I mean, the way that you kind of you sort of like you can jump backwards and carry on. It's
Max
very
Payne.
Yeah, it is, and it really feels that way, and it makes the combat very interesting. And I think again, it's a tactical shooter in a sense. You don't just go running in and start guns blazing, as Craig says. You look at each encounter and look at the environment and decide how you're going to take this challenge on. And you can go in all guns blazing, but it's not the best way to do it necessarily most of the time. And there's a lot of thought and a lot of tactics involved in actually taking on each encounter. And some of I've played it about 4 or 5 hours now, and some of the encounters and some of the bigger missions, like you go to like an old like ranch stead or something like that, and there's like 20 like bandits in there, and you have to take them out, and you can wait till night time because then they'll go to bed and some will be out. Nice. You can do all sorts of stuff like that, and then you can go in and actually you can kill them, or you can actually do the old chokehold and make them go unconscious, or actually knock them out while they're asleep, or even like ambush them. There's so many different ways of dealing with each situation and each combat that makes it really interesting, and I'm very much enjoying that aspect of it.
Nice. Yeah, it's got some really good stuff to it. I think some of the negatives for me, I think I wish it was more voiced, because it is very text based. There are little bits of voice in it, but I get it. It's on a budget, the title, and adding
kind
voice
of like
to an RPG. Exactly. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They could add a bit more to it, but that's a tiny little niggle. I think in terms of kind of your upgrades, you get a new gun or you get a new outfit. It doesn't actually change the way you look. It's just like an increase in stats, which is fine. You're so small on the screen anyway that you don't really see how you look and stuff like that. So it's not anything sort of too bad really. But other than that, I think it's an absolute bang, and I definitely recommend.
That's definitely one of the things. When I first put it on, I have to say, because I'm playing it on the console, it's one of the first things I noticed that clearly it was designed for the PC. There is actually a zoom in option on the game, but the character is so small when I was first initially playing it. Or if I didn't have it continuously on Zoom, I'm just kind of like, it's like a tiny little person moving around in the middle of the screen, which kind of lends itself more to a PC game rather than it doesn't. It clearly is the menus are all, you don't just click you have to move your little cursor around to select what you want to do. And I watched two reviewers. One is Skill Up and the other one is ACG. Skill Up hated it for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why he hated it. He just seemed to have, nothing seemed to gel with him, which is fair enough. Everybody has their opinion on a game.
Yeah.
Whereas ACG had totally the opposite viewpoint of it. I think one of the things that I haven't seen yet, which is something that ACG very much pointed out in his review, was that as you go through the story, apparently, I think you touched on this a second ago, Craig, there are like 5 main protagonists, and you play through those 5 main protagonists. However, they all are interconnected in some way. Their story is connected. So when you talk about skill points, you can level up certain skill points, but then there are certain skill points that you level up universally across all of your characters. So if you level up this ability or this thing, it doesn't matter which character you're using as you go through the story, they still get those same skill points. And one of the things that I haven't experienced very much of yet, but is something that is very prevalent apparently, so I'm talking not from personal experience but from watching the review by ACG here, is that things happen in the world that have consequences later on down the line. So you will save somebody and they will become your friend, and then you'll be in a combat situation 10-20 hours later, and everything's going badly, or they've just brought in reinforcements, and all of a sudden this person will turn up that you saved half a dozen missions ago and suddenly support you and help you save the day. And there are things like this that kind of come around in the world that you inhabit, and I think that's where the longer playthrough is really going to start paying off dividends. And I'm really interested to see that side of things in the game, because that's where I think it gets really interesting, and it makes you feel like you're inhabiting a place and you're having an impact on what happens. Really enjoying it.
It just reminded me, like I was going to say, like I don't know why when you were talking about that people you save, what have you. I remember getting to the end of Mass Effect Andromeda. Now it's a game that gets a lot of bad press, and rightly so. There's a lot of bad stuff about it. But one thing it never gets enough praise for, in my opinion, is the last fight you have in Mass Effect Andromeda. There's a big fight where you're rescuing your sibling, whoever it is, and it's got the best end fight of any Mass Effect ever. And it's one of my favourite Mass Effect moments, because what happens is, as you're fighting, whoever you've come into contact with, you've saved them and made allies with them, they'll start dropping in to help you throughout the combat. And it's just a really cool cinematic fight. And I was like, why wasn't the rest of the game this good? Because this is exactly why I come to Mass Effect. I felt like the choices I'd made had impact. It felt important. It's just the rest of that game just felt so flat compared to it. I was like, this moment is, if the game had been to this standard, oh my days. But yeah, I will sing its praises at that point. And if West 4 Dead does stuff, Weird West, sorry, does stuff like that.
West 4 Dead, brilliant, love it.
West 4 Dead is a roguelike, isn't it? That's why I got it. Yeah, voiced by Ron Perlman. It's a roguelike.
Oh, yes.
That looks wicked.
West of Dead, yes.
Played it, really enjoyed it, but roguelikes just aren't my thing. But it was good.
But I don't know, anything with Ron Perlman in, I've got to give a try, quite frankly.
Do you know what I said to someone? As soon as I saw it, I said, I bet you any money that was a pitch for Hellboy the game.
Yeah,
and it got burnt out. It got burnt out, and so they just repurposed it to a Western. It 100% looks like it should have been Hellboy the game. So anyway, so by the by, but I was like, I can understand why the developer would have kept it, because it was a great roguelike and really well voiced, and Ron Perlman nailed it, but you could tell it wanted to be Hellboy.
But so far, I have to say, Weird West, Wolfeye Studios, I think, are the developer. I'm very encouraged so far, and again, it's on Game Pass, so give it a punt, give it a try.
But I think the only negative thing I've seen, to be fair.
And again, no offence to him, everybody has their own opinion. Something didn't gel with him; he didn't like it, and I always consider his reviews to be very on point. But this is the first one really that I've disagreed with him on, to be fair, and that's fair enough.
I've had a number of his that I like and I enjoy his reviews, because I like the way that he writes about games, and he clearly loves games and he loves the industry. I find I don't agree with a lot of his opinions, which again is totally fine. That's his opinion. Exactly. I just don't. There was a couple of recommendations I bought from him that I've gone, this game is garbage.
But quite frankly, that's what you should do. I mean, you shouldn't just listen to one reviewer and go, that's it. That's what it's going to be like. You should always watch as many reviews as you can before purchasing a game. That's my advice for today, kids. Always watch as many reviews as possible before making your purchase, and then make an informed decision based on all of those different opinions. And they're still could go wrong. And do drugs. Sorry, don't do drugs. Don't do drugs. Sorry.
Dear, oh dear. Yeah, so, yeah.
It's a good job we're not monetised, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. We wouldn't be even if we were, to be fair.
So, okay, so Weird West then, if you had to give it a score from what you've played so far, obviously you can't give it a full score because you've not played a way through, what would you give it, Alan?
So far, fun fact from what I've seen, and the negatives, I agree with you. I would have liked to see more voice acting, and I'm very early days. I'm going to go with a 7.5 out of 10 at the moment.
Yeah?
8.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's where I'd sit. I'd sit an 8 out of 10. I'm a bit further ahead than you. And just to kind of clarify as well, when we're talking there are various different people to play throughout it. It's not like a gunslinger, then a sniper, then a soldier or anything. It's the first one's a bounty hunter, the second one's a pig man, and I think the third or fourth one's a werewolf. So it's very, very different as you go through it. So definitely worth a punt, particularly if you have Game Pass. Good stuff. So we're going to go back a little bit in time to another older release, as we did sort of early on, and another isometric game. So Alan has decided to play this game that we tried to play many, many moons ago. That he had real trouble logging in, and he's finally got it all up and running.
I'll tell you what, Alan's got some gaming in this week, hasn't he? In these last couple of
I've been about a bit. I'm not going to lie.
Spreading the love. Spreading the love.
I've still managed to put in the PZ, but I've actually managed to get some hours in on some other stuff as well. So, but this game, when it originally came out on the Xbox, there was what happened was that I had an email account with BT, and basically they stopped doing these emails and shut down my account. And and I had things that were set up that I couldn't change, and one of them was this. For some reason, it wouldn't let me. I'd go into the like my profile, and it wouldn't let me change my email address, and I couldn't receive the email to activate my account. So eventually, I just gave up. And the game I'm talking about is Warhammer Inquisitor Martyr, which has been out since 2018, I believe, June 2018. It's been out a little while now, and I am a massive Warhammer 40,000 fan. Not so much I don't do the tabletop, although I have dabbled a little bit in painting miniatures, but you guys have done a lot more than me. I certainly don't play the game, but I am a massive fan of the lore and the universe itself. And when it comes to a good computer game based in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, which at the moment we currently seem to have a flood of them coming out all over the blooming place. Dark Tide personally is the one I'm usually waiting for, but when this one came out, that's also good. Grey Knights, yes.
Well, Demon Gate, isn't it? I can't remember which one it is. That one.
I know what you mean. But yeah, absolutely. So there's some very interesting titles. But when this one came, I was like, wow, an ARPG Warhammer 40,000 game. This is blooming fantastic. Being a massive Diablo fan, and then of course I couldn't play it, and I was hugely disappointed. I just had to kind of one of those things. You just have to
words that came out of his mouth when he was trying to get this working.
It would have made a nun blush, but. And then I saw it come up on the PC, and it was on the store, and it was on Steam, and it was like something ridiculous, just like 10 quid. It was on my wish list, and I was like, oh wow, tenner. That's in my price range. I'll buy that. Bought it, and just straight away put in my new email, which I've had for a few years now, and it just worked straight away. So they seem to have refined the process. There were no problems, no difficulties, and I played about 15, 20 hours on it so far, and I absolutely immediately fell in love with it. It is a perpetual online with all the stuff that you get in games like Path of Exile, which is more online, I'd say, than Diablo, but then that's just because I've played Diablo 3 mostly on my own because nobody will play it with me. But other than that, but as an ARPG, it ticks all of the boxes, and having that knowledge of the Warhammer 40,000 universe and actually knowing about Inquisitors and Exterminatus and all of the background story behind how much power an Inquisitor has, and playing the game and getting all the different weaponry and the stuff and all of that is just adds the extra context for me, and the combat is really, really good. I'm really enjoying it. So I've also downloaded it on the Xbox to see whether I could get it working on there, and it worked straight away. Instantly. I loaded it up, absolutely no problem. So that is another game that hopefully in the very near future, me and Craig, I know you haven't, did you put like 20 or 30 hours in on the Xbox version?
I think I was level 26 when I checked. And me and Phil put I think I played with you, Chris, a bit actually as well.
Maybe. I played with Chet a bit, I know that. So maybe
I think we played a bit as well.
I can't remember what level I'm at. Chet's like beasted the crap out of it, so I know.
Yeah. I got a fair way in, but then it was, as usual, something else comes out and it's like everyone kind of gravitates to something else. And then I went back to it on my level level 26 character went, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just
that's
running
the
around,
biggest
just
problem
stuff
I
everywhere.
have,
So we need to start up a level 1 character, both of us together, and go through it again. I mean, it's got everything Warhammer. So far, I fought Tyranids, I fought Eldar. I'm still waiting to encounter some Orcs or some Necrons. Am I missing anyone?
I don't think I'll have Necrons in. I think that's pre-Necron. I could be wrong.
Okay, could be then, yeah. In which case, if it's pre-Necron, then... But it'd be good to see some Warg in there. That would be quite nice. But the Eldar were really cool. They were really cool in this. And very different enemies, obviously, in the way that they act and the way that you deal with them. And just, so far, I'm just absolutely loving it. It's just a shame it took me this long to be able to play it. And very much looking forward to getting on the... I don't care the fact that I've got a level 15 character now on the PC. I'm more than happy to go straight back to level 1 and start a new character with Craig, because it is a game that just calls out to be played with friends and enjoyed with friends. And there's so much they seem to have added in the last 3 years to it. You just go, I go in and everywhere there's so many downloads, so much add-on content. You can go to one planetary system and there's 6 different things that you can do. You don't have to, but you can go and do a hunt. You can go and do this. You can go and do the campaign. And it's just like there's so much content in there that I think that's going to keep us going for a long time.
Yeah, it's good stuff, mate. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So, just a bit, you mentioned earlier, Mr. Ratley, you said about Demon Gate, didn't you? Which there's Space Wolves, isn't it? Yeah, which is...
That's Grey
Knights.
Wolves.
Sorry,
They're the demon hunters.
They're Grey Knights. So that, I'm seeing a lot of the places online, they're kind of coining that as like Warhammer XCOM, is that right?
So yeah, basically there's from what we can see is it basically is XCOM but in 40k. So you've got squads, insta-deaths. It's a turn-based.
Well, it's made by the same developer, isn't it? That made XCOM, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, it looks great. It looks really good. Right. I was like. I have a real love of the Grey Knights. I remember because I've been playing 40k for a long time. I mean, I say playing 40k. I've been in the 40k fandom for a long time. I play 40k super uber casual. In fact, I haven't played a game of 40k in about 10, 15 years. But I'm fully aware of it and everything like that. But I love like Alan, love the lore, love the universe, and I paint obviously a lot of minis. We all know this and talk about it a lot. And the Grey Knights, are a faction which I kind of fell in love with early doors because when back in the day. The Grey Knights, when they were first introduced, were sort of a mythical thing, and they were sort of, you didn't see many Grey Knights. They weren't a lot of them, and they weren't a chapter. They were this force of the Inquisition.
It's like a legend.
Yeah, and they were beastly. So you could buy at that time the only models you could buy in second edition were Terminators, and there were these Grey Knight Terminators. I've still got one kicking around somewhere, big lead Terminator, and a psychic the halberd thing. And I remember that to field a Grey Knight Terminator, just one of them was like 250 points.
Right.
Now, when an army is normally 2,000 points, to field one model at 250 points, that has to be one beastie dude.
It's a walking tank.
So yeah, they were a big deal. But yeah, and I just remember getting one and kind of learning about them and being like a bit psyched about them. And they've kind of been fleshed out and more well realised now. Like so I mean, I can just reach across here. I might find it. And this is the legs to a Grey Knight model I'm working on. I have been for a while. So it's a mech suit, and the guy sits in top, a bit like the thing from the Matrix, a bit like the Dreadnought you got, but not quite. And so they've got loads, because all their weapons are psychic and designed to deal with demons. So there'll be a lot of demon stuff in this new in Demon Gate, etc. There's going to be a lot of that cool stuff. So I really like it. I love the Grey Knights as a chapter, so I'm really my
do you know when it's out?
Soon. I don't know the exact date, but soon.
No.
Is all I know.
I was just looking for. I think I misspoke. It's not. I don't think it's by the same developers as it says, but it's definitely as they're saying, it's XCOM formula. So
I know it's coming soon. Well, I mean, if you are sort of excited for that and you're kind of into that kind of thing, XCOM 2, the collection, is actually on sale at the moment, which I mentioned to a few people close to me. And it's the £80 collection, which has all the DLC, and it also has the expansion. I think it's Chosen, Enemies of the Chosen, or something it's got. I've not got that far yet. But it's normally £80. It's got 95% off on the Xbox store, down to £3.99.
You've got the best squad ever, haven't you? Who have you got? Who have you got on your best dream squad?
Hey, I've got Mr. Ratley Ratster, I've got Mr. Longfangs Howler, and I've got Mr. Speed Freak Phil.
What a squad! What a squad!
Alan Longfang's Howler is one hell of a sniper. He's been popping heads off left, right, and centre.
You're damn right I have. You're damn right I have.
And there's Ratley with his grenade launcher, thonk blowing up cover everywhere so Alan could pop their heads off. It's brilliant. It's great fun. But no, man, if you've never played XCOM, or you played the original, you played XCOM 2, even if you just never played the DLC, £3.99 you can get the DLC for the XCOM 2.
I mean, like you told me about it, and I've kind of been. I like XCOM, but I've never been a hardcore, and I'd never played 2. And as soon as you told me about it, I just went, what? I just went, loaded the store up and bought it. I didn't even know, just bought it.
I sent the message, and the message came back about 3.5 seconds later saying, on it.
The release date for Chaos Gate, by the way, is just slated during the course. It just said, if you found a date, because I just read during...
5th of May. Yeah,
5th of May. So that's soon. That's nice.
So what, 2 weeks away? 2.5 weeks away?
If it wasn't for the fact I've played about 5 different games this week, I probably would have put XCOM 2 on myself, because I do actually own it on both the PC and the console. So, but I've struggled so many times. It's one of those games I need to put the time in and actually learn it, because I struggle so much and my entire squad dies and I'm like, I can't play this game. Just go and play something else. But I just need to spend time learning it.
Well, you should be used to playing games where you lose your characters, mate. Which brings me round to the time of the day where we have the Project Zomboid update.
Well, the update is this. I've stopped playing Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is alive and well. Yeah, in his base, because he's Bruce Willis, for Christ's sake. I know he's retired, but he's still alive and well, albeit in the apocalypse, in his base, southwest of Riverside, in Knoxville, and he's perfectly fine. However, I got a bit bored of base building and I wanted a new challenge, and I've delved into the world of mods, and that's one of the things on Project Zomboid, which makes it absolutely fantastic, is the fact that there is a massive modding community, a very involved modding community, and they do some fantastic stuff. They can totally change the game around. Now, I haven't delved too deep because I like the core game, but one of the ones which I immediately latched onto, so I watch a streamer called Royale with Cheese, and he's very, very funny. He's a funny guy, has a similar sort of sense of humour to me, and he plays Project Zomboid like 16 hours a day, mental. I wish I had his job, quite frankly. And he was talking about doing this challenge, and within the challenge, it's called the 1 year painful year challenge, and you have to do various things and set settings. But one of the things you have to do is have a random spawn point. So what you might not know about Project Zomboid is you get to choose what town you spawn in. Now, not all of them. There's about 6 towns and a city called Louisville on the map, which is massive, but there are 4 towns you can choose to spawn in, and you pick that, and within that town there's generally about half a dozen places that you're likely to spawn. So after you've played it for a while, you kind of start to know where you're going to spawn. But there's this mod called Random Spawn mod, and it introduces 2,500 different spawn points. You can spawn in the middle of the prison and have to fight your way out of the prison, and literally, I kid you not, there are thousands of zombies in the prison. You're not fighting your way out. You're a dead man. But there are some places, because I've been sort of playing and I always choose where I spawn, that I've never even been on the map, and Louisville is one of those. Getting to the city and fighting your way into the city is a major challenge all in itself. So using this pillow spawn mob, immediately, like the second time I spawned, I just spawned right in the middle of the city, and I had to fight and started like trying to live at the top of this tower of flats, and it was just like fighting my way out. And eventually, of course, I died. You die a lot, but for me, it's the start of the game that's almost more fun than setting up the base with Project Zomboid. So, but upon saying that, my current character, Will Smith, who likes to go around hitting things, which is lucky because he's in the zombie apocalypse and he needs to hit them in the head repeatedly. He hasn't seen anybody called Chris Rock yet, but that's just a matter of time. But Will Smith has now survived for over a month and a half with 3,500 zombie kills, and I'm currently building a base on a petrol station. All the times before this, I've built bases, and then every time I need fuel for my cars or my generators, I have to get in the car, go to the petrol station, clear out all the zombies, and then do that. And this time I thought, do you know what? I'm going to be savvy this time. I'm building a base in the petrol station. Boom, baby. So yeah, that's what I'm doing currently. But I am also experimenting. Going to start experimenting with other mods, and because you can add, there's the like vanilla sort of like weapons and stuff, but you can add like special cars, special units, and one big deal. If anybody that knows Project Zomboid, there is a unique character in the game that I actually discovered this week and killed, and it's Jason Voorhees. There is only one in the entire map, and he has a hockey mask and a machete. And I've in the 760 hours so far I've played, never seen him. And this week I found Jason Voorhees, and I'm now the proud owner of a hockey mask. And I'm now walking around. Will Smith is now Jason Will Smith Voorhees, walking around chopping up zombies.
Well, there
boom,
you go.
baby.
I think what we need to do we need to get you doing a bit of a stream of this, just so people can see the absolute scale of the stuff that you've done. Because you've shown me before when I've come round, and it is absolutely bananas. We'll have to set it up. We'll get it on this channel and get people to have a little look.
Down for that.
Yeah, it sounds good. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for that update, mate. Now, finally, the last thing on games before we move on to some TV and movie stuff that we've been doing. I have purchased a game. I've been looking at it for a while since it came out, and it went on sale. And it is Mafia Definitive Edition. And it's on sale for, I think, £17. I think I bought it for on the Xbox store. Now, it's a remake of an old game. I never played the old classic, but I've always been a bit of a sucker for anything kind of Mafia, the crime.
Yeah, you insulted me. You insulted my family.
That's it. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a punt. And actually, you know what, it's a brilliant remake what they've done with it, because they've actually from the ground up kind of developed the same game again, just with modern graphics, sort of more modern controls, and it looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, there was a scene where I was going to collect some moonshine off the back of, or some whiskey from Canada, because this is through Prohibition, off the back of this truck on this farm, and it's in the middle of the night, it's raining, thunderstorm, it just looks stunning, the lighting effects and everything. The shooting mechanics are okay, they're serviceable. They're like a kind of budget 360 game sort of, shooting mechanics. So it doesn't feel like you're really advanced and much from the original probably on that. But the thing that's driving me through this is, yes, it's an open world, but you don't play it like an open world game. You don't play it like a GTA where you just go off for a bit of a drive and running people over and shooting the cops up and going to cop chases. You can do that, but it's just the open world is there to facilitate the city for the story to be played through, and it's just a really cool Mafia story to go along. So I think if you like that kind of stuff, I would say for £17, I'm really glad I purchased it. It's a really, really cool Mafia story, and I think so far I would sit it. It's good. I'd say it's a 7.5 out of 10, and I think I'm about 2 missions off the end, so I'm getting very close in. Really cool story. Have either of you guys ever played it?
No, but the way you're describing the city in that reminds me of LA Noire.
Yeah, much like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that city was there, but more to facilitate getting from A to B to tell the story of what was going on.
That's it.
All that stuff. Love that.
It's been on my radar for a long, long time, and I've never got around to playing it. So I'm very keen to have a go at some point. But I've never actually played it. I mean, did you say it's just the first one or the whole 3 games? Because there's 3.
So it's the first one that they've done the full remake. They have got the whole trilogy on offer for I think it's £25, but I was like, I don't know. The second one is purely just like an up-res version of the original, whereas the third one is a more modern game from the Xbox.
Yes, that's what I believe. I believe the first one was a full remaster. The second one is a graphics gloss over, and the third one they didn't do pretty much anything with it because the graphics were considered to be the same. But I think the third one is considered to be the least accomplished of all of the games. I think mostly because I think the combat's better, but overall the story's not as good. But that's just what I've read. I wouldn't lay any claim to that being accurate or not. But I'm definitely interested in playing that because, like you, I mean, Goodfellas is one of my favourite movies of all time. Time, it's up there in my top 5 favourite movies. So to play a gangster game, we actually play that. I don't know why I haven't done it before now, to be honest. So yeah.
Yeah, no, very, very good stuff.
But Godfather for me was always the one. Godfather.
Oh, yeah, nice, yeah.
The Godfather, the first 2, then the third one is a kind of meh. So, but the first 2, masterpieces.
Love them all. Love them all. Fantastic stuff. Cool. Right. It's time. Let's move over to TV and movies. So, poor old Ratley has just been chatting, listening to us gob on about all the games we've been playing, kind of chipping in, but let's give him the reins now. You've been watching a bit of Rick and Morty, haven't you, mate?
Watched season 5 because it went on Netflix. Alan mentioned this couple 3 weeks ago. He sort of started watching it.
Yeah.
And the other day I was like, I've been meaning to watch it. Like, I love Rick and Morty. So I'll put it on. I'll have a watch. And it's one of my favourite seasons they've done, I think. I've got to say. I think they've really knocked it out of the park this season. I was thinking to myself to do it. They've like had a absolutely brilliant way of bringing in like great sci-fi, keeping the patter and the humour in it, but really good sci-fi. Like the sci-fi element of it has been really strong this season. But I absolutely loved it. I thought it's been absolutely brilliant. It's a show where 5 seasons in, I'm not tired of it. I'm not tired of the characters. The jokes aren't wearing thin. The characters are going from strength to strength. There was an episode I particularly loved. I think it was episode 2 where they have the decoy family.
Decoy. That episode is so meta. I think I mentioned it. It's so good.
I couldn't remember if that was the episode you mentioned, but oh my days, what an episode! Like just genius level.
Straight up there to the top. Probably one of my favourite episodes of the entirety.
Oh,
it's
100%.
just epic.
So good. The writing is on point. But it's like even throughout it, like what I loved about that, so on point, like the bit where he starts recording the hologram, and then at the end of it, he's like, no, I'm going to loop it, shut up, like little things like that. And I was like, it's so well executed. And you're just like, I absolutely love it. And I think, I mean, it could go on and on about Rick and Morty, but I love it. It's also very self-aware, like the fact he's like, as soon as you guys go away, I'm like 20 minutes from the next Pickle Rick or something like that, and I'm just like, it knows.
What about Two Crows? What do you think of Two
Crows?
Oh,
Two Crows.
I think Alan's probably not got there yet.
Not got that one yet.
The Two Crows is great. There's like a mini arc.
Two Crows, y'all.
Yeah, it's good. And I really liked they tie up some loose ends with pre-existing storylines from other things. Well, I say they tie up, Lisa. They sort of leave it with where's it going to go from here? I absolutely thought.
What's the other one? The one with like where Morty and the wine.
Oh yeah, time travel.
Again,
so
unbelievably good and dark at the same time. That's what Rick and Morty does so well. It's so funny but so dark all at the same time. This entire society based off this. It's like, oh my god. That's amazing.
I love. There was a brilliant bit in the episode where he's like, you fool for believing it, and then like he disappears. Oh my god, he's real! I was wrong. It's so many good moments. Like, absolutely, genuinely thought that the whole series was easily some of the best they've done. And I, if you like Rick and Morty, you're a fan. Do not delay. Watch season 5. I regret leaving it as long as I did. I can't say enough good things about it. I've watched it twice now, to be perfectly honest with you. Absolutely loved that season. Thoroughly
I think really, if you like any kind of wacky comedy, if you like The Simpsons, if you like Family Guy, if you like anything like that, it's just like a science fiction, even wackier, crazy version of those, isn't it? Just goes to a whole nother level. I think you'd enjoy it.
I think it's a weird thing where some people I know have tried it and haven't. And I keep saying to them, you've got to stick with it. Like the first few episodes, it's kind of weird. And it has to establish itself, and you've got to stick with it. And once it gets you, or you get it, or whichever way it goes, it just gets its hooks in you. And and I think I think season 4 was maybe not their strongest season. That was kind of middling for them. But they've certainly come back in this season, really swinging out hard. That is a seriously good season of television. Like really, really good. Thoroughly recommend. I know Alan, you should watch it. Finish watching it. It's it doesn't. The second episode is the best episode in the season, but the whole season's strong. That's not to say don't watch the rest of this, because the whole season is strong. And just, really heartfelt at point as well. It does that really nice thing where Rick and Morty can tug at your heartstrings really nicely as well, occasionally. It's like, gets the feels into you and you're like, oh, okay.
Just hits every mark. It really, really does.
Great
it's so well written. So well written.
And unfortunately, been tarnished by some idiots with the Szechuan sauce incident, but, it annoys me. But the reality is that it's a brilliantly written, really funny, really great show. And really heartfelt as well,
Definitely. No, it's a good shout, mate. Good shout. Couldn't agree more. So, recently, there was a film came out called Morbius. And it's got absolutely panned, hasn't it?
Shredded.
And there's a film that Alan watched recently that would have been the worst Marvel film out there by review standards if Morbius hadn't come out. And that's Eternals. I've seen it. Alan, tell me about it, or tell us.
Well,
about it.
I mean, it was the weekend, and it was on the evening, and I actually saw it. It popped up on Disney Plus, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch that because I'm a massive Marvel fan, and I pretty much own all of them on DVD. Sorry, just trying to trigger you. Yeah, triggered. Yeah, but no, I do. I do own almost every single. In fact, I just picked up. Was it No Way Home, the most recent Spider-Man one? I get because they're all called something about home. I get confused in my old age, and I just picked that up on DVD as well from Morrison's. So there you go, advert for Morrison's. But anyway, I digress. And I thought it was Eternals, and I thought I'll watch that, and it was like 2 hours and 37 minutes. Although it's not that, because about 17 minutes of that is actually credits. Although you do have to watch the credits because it's a Marvel film. So in theory, 2 hours and 37 minutes. I was like, that's too long. So I waited till the next day and I watched it. And I have to say, I actually liked it. I actually enjoyed it. I know this is a shock because so many people and so many reviewers were going, "This is a load of rubbish. Don't bother watching this." And I was again, it's that thing where maybe my expectations were just really low. That I went in not expecting anything amazing from it. And I'm not saying it's amazing. It's certainly not up there in my top 5 Marvel films of all time. But if I was looking for a film and I wanted to watch it with my family and I just wanted to sit down and watch something that we would all enjoy and it's fun and it's not overly complicated and it has enough spectacle to keep you going, ooh and ah, then... Definitely, Eternals ticks all of those boxes. It's got a great cast in it with some really likeable characters and I've heard some complaints about the fact that there are too many moving parts and too many characters, and you just don't have enough time to get to feel to like. And I didn't feel that at all. It didn't take me long to get to know the characters, and it kind of jumps back in time and gives you a bit of their story of the Eternals and time they've spent on Earth and how their names have become synonymous with some of our history and different cultures and things like Gilgamesh is one of my favourite characters in it. He's absolutely fantastic. And they've all got different abilities, and you've got Richard Madden and Kit Harington, so it's almost like a reunion of Game of Thrones in there a little bit as well. But overall, there's great action. The special effects aren't bad. They're pretty good for the most part. I wouldn't say any of them actually stood out as kind of like, oh my God, that's the best superhero ever. But as a combined group and as a one sole purpose and the story about the what are they called, the gods, whatever, the Celestials, as the Celestials, and this whole thing. You know, sometimes you kind of feel with the Marvel universe, and bearing in mind that all of these stories are based in the comic books that have come over in like 50, 60, 70 years, and there's a lot of content in there, and there have been times when they've gone, do you know what, we need to do something different. We need to just, we've done the X-Men, we've done like the Avengers, we've done like Deadpool, we've done this, we've done that, let's do something a bit different, let's put something fresh out there. And somebody comes up with the Eternals, and you end up with this melting pot. They're like around Earth, you've got like Thanos destroying, making half the population across the entire universe disappear, and then 5 minutes later, and it's all trying to tie it in together and make it believable. And yeah, some people have argued, it's a bit silly. They're Eternals and the Celestials, and they don't do anything about Thanos. And it's like you've got the gods here, like Thor, and like all of these gods and those gods and everything else. It doesn't really matter. You just have to turn your brain off a little bit for a second and just think about what's going on in front of you for a while, and not worry about the fact that it's in the same world as Captain America or in that and everything else.
They tie it in well enough. I think
they do. They do enough.
They tie it in absolutely, like, again, suspension of disbelief. They tie it in enough. One thing I would say, when you mentioned about how they don't build characters up enough, I agree that all of the main characters, I think, had enough screen time, and I think I was happy with that. The thing that I wasn't happy about was and I can't even remember what they're called now. They're the monsters that they're trying to stop.
Oh God. Yeah.
I can't even remember what they're called now. But anyway, there's like a main monster who kind of morphs and becomes more, and is played by an absolutely fantastic actor. And that I didn't.
Isn't it Skarsgård?
This is one of the Skarsgård brothers. The guy who did It, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever his name
Bill
is.
Skarsgård, isn't it?
But might be that. Yeah.
But
I didn't even realise that until I saw like a clip of a behind the scenes. But that character is just so throwaway. and it's
He is.
wasted.
It's a shame, yeah.
Absolutely wasted. They may not have even. They didn't need to have that character in there.
I think it happens too late in the film for them to actually have time to flesh him out. They've spent an awful lot of time. They could have perhaps made this into 2 movies, but I'm not sure how they would have done that. So for them to have this main protagonist, and for them to actually, and then he's not the only protagonist. So I think they decided at the end, like, we want this storyline, but we're going to go with this protagonist that we've got more time to kind of. And I don't want to give any spoilers if you haven't seen it, but it's somebody that you know better in the film, and you've had much more time to get to know them. And I agree with you that as a bad guy had much more weight as something that they could take on because of what it can do and how it has an impact on the Eternals themselves. And ultimately it just gets thrown away because there's not enough time to deal with it, and not enough time to flesh out, which is a shame. But overall, I didn't feel like that hampered the story of the film overall. No. It's just a bit of a shame.
I think it was a good story all in all. I liked the twists and turns. I liked the stuff that happened in it, and I think it was the way that it's shot and the way the story's told, and the director is I've forgotten her name. Is it Chloe Zhao? Chloe Zhao. I think she won an Oscar for a movie once. I think recently. She's
done a lot of indie films. I think it's the first big budget film she's ever done.
Yeah,
it was her first Hollywood movie, I think.
Yeah, you can tell it. I mean, it's beautifully shot. It's really good.
It is.
And it actually I think you'd like this one, because I know you're a bit sick of some Marvel films. It's got a real DC feel to it.
Yeah, well, I think I was going to say I don't have a lot to bring to the conversation because I haven't seen it, but certainly the biggest complaint I see thrown at that a lot is that it feels like a DC movie, and I think because it breaks the Marvel formula, a lot of people just don't like it because it's different, and I've been a big proponent of, like, I don't want DC to turn into Marvel because Marvel do Marvel, and I want DC to be DC. I'm not, and I think. For them to try something different, I'm all for Marvel not being as formulaic. I would like to see more different and interesting films from Marvel, because I'm
like Morbius.
Burnt out. Yeah, I'm burnt out because no, not like Morbius. Different, interesting, and good. Let's say that. So I'm burnt out on it because of the formula. Because I can kind of read the room when I walk into a Marvel movie, and it's a bit predictable. And I'm not happy just to ride the roller coaster. Don't get me wrong, I want the ups and downs, which is what I think one of the reasons why when I sat down and watched Spider-Man Homecoming when I first saw it, it's one of the few films to ever really completely sideswipe me in the Marvel universe. And it wasn't, when I look back at it, it wasn't it wasn't something I shouldn't have seen coming, but I think they did that brilliant thing where they misdirect you just perfectly enough that when the big reveal happens, and it happens in such a great way in that Spider-Man movie, that I was like, it was such a fantastic moment when that door is opened.
Which is similar to the noise I make every morning when I wake up.
Yeah. I was just kind of like, I had that moment, I was like, that's a great, but then when I watched the second Spider-Man movie, I was like, we're back to formula then. It was just bad, and I was like, I don't like this movie. It was just not good, and I really want to see.
And then number 3 came out.
Because the
man,
third one looks great. But
they've come back.
And I'm not going to judge the third one because the second one was bad. I think I've unfortunately at this point, the spoilers have come thick and fast for the third one.
Such a shame. Yeah.
And I have a quick mini rant here. The fact that Sony are advertising it for home release with all the spoilers is just ridiculous.
It's mental, and it's not even on the DVD. It's not even on the DVD case. There's no mention of it at all on the DVD case. Stop it, Craig, stop it. But it's not even on the case. It doesn't mention anything about it. There's no pictures. It doesn't even. It just has the arm of Doc Ock, and it's got that, and that's all it shows. On the advert, they just immediately go, "There you go. There's the big reveal. We'll spoil the whole film for you. Brilliant. Well done. There you go."
I'm like, you know what? It's like, I knew it was going to happen. I'm not going to say I'm stupid enough to think it wasn't going to happen, because as soon as I saw that the villains are back, I was like, well, if you don't put them in, you're going to have it won't just be pitchforks. There will be people your office will be bulldozed.
But you still want to have the element of disbelief when you're watching it.
I want to see
it.
I want the first time I see it is when I'm in the movie, not like on a trailer. Because again, and it's a Sony thing, because they dropped Ghostbusters Afterlife, right? And I won't spoil the end of Ghostbusters Afterlife, but the first trailer they dropped the day after, so the TV spots just had that in it, and I'm just like, why would you put that in the trailer? What the?
But I think the main
so
problem here is that
doing
we have gone a little bit off track here. But however, I think the main problem with this is that quite often it's a completely independent and different company that does the trailer than is actually doing the film or producing the film. And quite often there's not enough time, and one person's like just signs off on it without even thinking about it, because I think that happens a lot. And it's not excusing it. I'm just saying it's why it happens. But going back to the Eternals, I have to say the cast list was great. We've got Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Angelina Jolie actually playing a character that, again, has enough screen time but isn't like the main protagonist, which is great. She wasn't trying to steal the screen. Salma Hayek, again, she is the leader of the group, but again, she's also missing from some of it for various reasons, which is great. So they all kind of get the play. But Kit Harington's also in it, which is also interesting. I also mentioned that because he also plays Black Knight in the upcoming Black Knight movie, which is very interesting because he was actually cut out a lot of the film. So you don't really get to see a lot of that until an after credit scene. So, but he is listed as being on the cast. And also somebody else, and I'm not going to spoil who he is, but I didn't realise he was in it. Harry Styles from One Direction actually plays a character that I'm not going to spoil, like I just did Kit Harington. And I thought that was
say.
Yeah, but I was just like, I was looking at it, I was going, really? That was him? Oh wow! I really wasn't expecting that. That was really
impressed
cool.
me in Dunkirk. To be fair, I thought he
Yeah. So fantastic. So yeah, good cast list. Very impressed.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah, I'm totally with you. I think it was just off the curve of what Marvel have been doing, and some people just took them by surprise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they just want the next Captain America. They want the next
formula man.
Exactly.
People are comfortable with what they love.
Just give us a score, Alan. Where would you put it?
Oh, that is a tough one. I mean, it's not a Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, it's not a 9, which I'd give that. But it was enjoyable. I'd give it a 7.5.
Okay.
7.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair score. I'd be around there. I think as well.
Yeah.
If it was good, 7.5.
I'll give it a try.
Yeah, it's well worth it, definitely. So, Mr. Ratley, let's go back to you again. You've been so quiet, and I feel really bad. There was a game that was. Mate, there's a game really, really popular recently, wasn't there, that came out. Was it 2018 with a fantastic animation style, and they've brought it over to the TV. What is it?
I've completely forgotten now.
Is it possibly Cuphead?
Oh, Cuphead.
Cuphead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? Yes, no, Cuphead. So I watched the Cuphead show on Netflix. Yes.
Yeah.
I've not seen all of it. I've seen most of it, and it's quite good, but like it's not a killer show, and I wouldn't say, oh god, you've got to see this. But it's got some great little moments in it. The one with the baby stands out so far. That was quite fun. It's just kind of daft, and it's just a really silly show, which is a good like brain off, have some fun. Like they're all like self-contained mini episodes. Like one where they got some money, and they were going to go ice cream because one of them had eaten the other one's ice cream or something. And honestly, it was just daft.
I saw a bit of one that was like, it was a bunch of vegetables about, and then they called the police on the vegetables, and then the police turned up. And I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Are you sure you watched it, Craig, or were you dropping some LSD?
Possibly, I don't know. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, Al, honestly, a lot of it feels like you're dropping LSD. Like, so yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I mean, it's so hard to explain because like it's a bit Acme at points, you know, like there's that kind of silly over the top violence of Acme. It's a bit kind of adult at points, but not like crass or rude or anything like that. It's just a bit kind of, I don't know, it's a bizarre, it's a bit like the game in that it's a bit bizarre. If you've played the game and you kind of have experienced how that works in the game, so like the level with the two brothers on the barge on the gambling shit.
Yeah.
That's one of the episodes.
Is it?
It's basically all the levels from the game have been turned into episodes of animation.
Oh right.
So I'm curious because the game is actually so it's all the frames are hand drawn in the game.
Yep.
Yeah. And obviously animation is animation, so it's by its very nature hand drawn. But these days, obviously, they use a lot of computer programs to do a lot of that animation. So is the art style in
exactly
line with the game?
Exactly
Absolutely identical?
Yeah,
Right.
it looks,
Okay.
it looks like
so
the
it's got
game
this,
and the show
this
look
50s tint to it
Yeah.
and all of
Yeah,
that
it
stuff.
looks exactly like the game looks. So if
Yeah.
you've played the game and you like that art
Oh
style,
no, I've not played the game. I can't stand the game. No.
I enjoyed the game, but I found it very infuriating.
It's not for me. It's totally not a game that I enjoy playing. It's purely about timing, repetition. Keep doing the same thing until you understand what. He does this attack for the first 2 minutes, and then he does that attack for the next 2 minutes. It's one of those games. Like is it Shovel Knight? I can't remember. There's quite a few of those types of games.
It's got a sort of
that
Dark Souls
are
element to it as well.
all about timing and precision and doing the level over and over and over again until you learn it.
Yeah,
and that's
like
not
an
for me.
old school tough platformer, like a Mega Man type thing, isn't it?
It's a tough one even by that standards. To be fair, Cuphead is an unforgiving game, no question. But if you like the look of Cuphead, you like the feeling, you like that kind of era, it's good. It's got some great voice acting. I will say this: the voice acting is very good in it. The writing is good. What there is, it's not like an in-depth thing, but it's well written. It's funny. It's the animation is a treat, absolute treat. I was going to say that's one thing I have to say. Like the game got praised for no end. And I've got to give the show equal measure of praise. It's a beautiful show to look at if you're a fan of that kind of, that style of animation. I really enjoy it. I can't. It's hard to explain, and it's a solid recommend for a watch. At least give it a go. But to try and explain it to someone it's.
Where's it on Netflix?
Its own thing. Yeah, Netflix have got it.
Right, okay. Because I believe the first level of the game is also available on the Tesla. So if you don't own an Xbox, you haven't owned a games console, and you can't play it, you can always play it on your Tesla if you have one of those.
Because of course, if you haven't got a games console, you're likely to have a Tesla.
Well,
you never know.
That's how the world works.
Spreading the market. So. Thanks for that, mate. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, I think not last week before, Alan, you mentioned a little bit about the Cowboy Bebop remake.
Yeah. So I'd only watched about 2 or 3 episodes of it at that point, and the only things I had to go on, to be honest, were kind of reviews, and I'd watched a couple of videos on YouTube about people, because at that time, even then, I knew that it had been cancelled by Netflix, and it had been cancelled pretty quickly, to be fair. It had been cancelled about 3 weeks after its release, and there are many reasons that many people cite for that reason, and I was curious to know if maybe some of that was to do with the actual content itself. And I have to say, after watching all 10 episodes, I kind of had a bit of I wouldn't say a complete 180. It's not like I start off by going, I'm not really feeling it, and then getting towards like episode 10 and going, this is like the best thing ever, and I absolutely love it. But I did enjoy it. And I did end up finishing the 10 episodes feeling a little sad that there's not going to be any more of it, because I thought it was quite unique in a lot of the things that it did, and the way that it portrays. And I was also very curious because it is based on a very incredibly popular, incredibly well loved manga anime, which is about 30 years old. I don't remember when it came out, and that's also available. I believe there's only one season of that and a movie, but the season is about 24 episodes long, and they're only about 20 minutes each episode. So I was curious to sort of like try and see a kind of comparison and do it the wrong way round, if you like. I watched the real live action one, and I've started watching the anime, and I've only watched the first 2 episodes. But the first episode, I have to say, the first thing that jumped out at me was an immediate newfound admiration for the real life action one. Almost immediately I could see this was a labour of love. If the people who made the real life action one clearly loved the animation, and they tried to stick to it, the music, the opening credits, the way the characters look. And I know I've heard some criticism about the relationship between Spike Spiegel and Faye Valentine later on down the line. They're very abrasive apparently in the manga, and they rub off each other and are constantly battling each other. And I haven't seen that because I'm only 2 episodes in, and Faye Valentine isn't even in it yet. I believe she comes in the 3rd episode. But so far from what I've seen, it's like I look back with a newfound admiration at the real life action, about how accurate and how much the tone of the animation they've captured in the real life. And it makes me even look at it and think, wow, if I was a fan of the animation before this came out and I watched it from what I've seen so far, I would be hugely disappointed. And again, I'm not a massive one of the uber fans of the original manga, but from my perspective, I'm kind of like, they did an amazing job encapsulating it, and it seems to me a great shame that there's not going to be any more of it. And despite the fact that Netflix never released their stuff, if ever they do on DVD, DVD, I will snap that up straight away. I really, really will. I might even blew it on Blu-ray if I'm feeling a little bit cheeky. I know, right?
4K.
Yeah, I know exactly. But because I really did enjoy it that much, and I will watch it again. I really enjoyed. I mean, the three main characters. John Cho is Spike Spiegel.
Yeah.
He does a stunning job, absolutely stunning job of portraying the character from the anime to that.
Yeah, I watched the first two. I want to say the first two episodes of the live action one, because I mean, initially I saw it coming out. I thought, I've heard of that. I've heard there's an anime of it, and again, heard it's supposed to be really good. People really like it, and saw the trailer. Thought that looks pretty cool. It kind of almost gave me a bit of a. It's got this weird, like it's almost like a quirky cyberpunk type of feel to it. A bit like Fifth Element, kind of very strange alternative future
with some freeform jazz thrown in.
Yeah. And I watched the first two episodes, and I felt nothing really. I mean, it was all right. There was nothing I could say against it, but I wasn't interested in continuing to watch it.
And that's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said 2 weeks ago after watching 3 episodes. And I'm not saying that it majorly changed over the course of the 10 episodes. I just enjoyed the story and the characters a little bit more, enough for me to actually be disappointed when it ended. I'd lost that feeling of, this is just bland, which I said at the time after watching 3, and kind of got, this is quite good. It's not amazing, but it's fun enough that I am enjoying it and the characters.
I think one of the things that made
No, you go.
Yeah, no. So I think one of the things that made me stop was the fact that it got cancelled so quickly as well. That I started watching and thought, it's okay, and I don't want to get to a point where, here's a good example. Firefly. First couple of episodes of that, I was like, yeah, this is all right. But by the time I finished that first season of the Firefly, I was like, I absolutely love this, and I know there's not another one. What the hell? There was a movie and that was it. I couldn't believe it. I was gutted, and I didn't want to put myself in that position again. Sorry, Chris, go on.
Well, I was going to say, I've forgotten my point now, but on the Firefly thing, I said I'm the guy who had the complete opposite. I watched Firefly, could never figure out what the fuss was about.
Really?
Honestly, never connected with me.
Cast out this demon! Be gone, foul spawn!
Shame!
My complaint with it was it always felt like the characters were underdeveloped. But I did say I thought there was potential had it gone on for some well fleshed out characters. But I felt like it was a very underdeveloped show for me. So I didn't have a problem with why it was necessarily cancelled. I mean, I know there was a lot of other reasons it got cancelled because Fox deserved to be burnt at the stake for just was it Fox? It wasn't it? Sabotaged the.
It's an accountant's decision, isn't it? It's a shareholder's decision. Where a lot of times when these things are cancelled,
it's one of those things where we've said it before. It amazes me though, even with the state of it was released in, etc. I don't think it was a bad show. I didn't love it and I didn't connect with it in a way a lot of people did. But I will say that it amazes me that didn't get renewed and then
brown coats forever.
It's one of those shows where it was certainly good enough for a second season.
And that's kind of how I feel about Cowboy Bebop. Doing a quick turn back to that, because I do feel like the first series seems very much to be developing the main protagonist backstory of Spike Spiegel, and once you've got past that part, like there's another character that's in the anime that I haven't met yet, who's a young hacker kid who shows up literally in the last 5 minutes of the series, and you just sit there and I just kind of sat there and thought, do you know what? If they got to a second series, I think this could have been something that was really, really good. I think they didn't have a chance to quite develop as much as they could have done. And I think there's a lot of reasons. I've been trying to find out. I did some research trying to find out why it was cancelled, and it just didn't get that immediate wham amount of viewers.
The other thing
I think one of the reasons was actually Netflix always nixed it themselves, because I do believe they released another couple of really big series. In fact, I think one of them was Witcher 2 at almost exactly the same time. So everybody tuned in to watch Witcher 2, and they cancelled it in 3 weeks. So everybody was watching Witcher 2 in the other series, and they didn't get around to watching something else. So it was kind of like it was almost doomed from the very beginning. It was never even given a chance to actually
I find
gain an
interesting
audience.
in the way you've talked about it, Alan, is I was sort of hovering around the subreddit when it came out, the Cowboy Bebop subreddit, and it was quite amazing to see you say, obviously going back the other way, you're like, I'm sure fans of the animation would be totally blown away by this, and the actual people
they
coming
weren't.
out and saying that it with a vast massive minority, a lot of people are like, I hate it, they've changed things, they've done this, and I was like, come on, guys, just chill out. Just try and enjoy the thing about the thing you love. It's not exactly. It will never be exactly the same. It's not going to happen. But I see this. You see this loads with.
We've talked about this before. This toxic fan culture where they know better and everything's not perfect.
Exactly as I said, or it's not interesting. And I see it a lot with the Superman subreddit as well. And I'm not going to hark on about Superman or anything like that. But you see it a lot, and I'm just like, guys, just chill.
It's toxic. It's almost Star Trek. We've talked about it before. Star Trek has got some of the most toxic fans, and they absolutely hate. And I'm almost like I've said it before. I'm so grateful that there's so much Star Trek in the ecosystem now. I may not like Discovery as much as Next Generation. I may not like this as much as that, or this and that and the other. But I'm so grateful there is so much choice and opportunity in a universe that I am so invested in, and I like some things more than others. But I'm so grateful that it's all out there, and I think sometimes fans forget that. They forget that now there won't be any more live action Cowboy Bebop, and they're not making any more animation. So stuff you fans, you're not going to get any new Cowboy Bebop. Well done, you. You've done a good job.
I think that I often feel this way about DC movies, and I know I'm biased, and I know what inherent bias is. But like when Justice League came out, the awful Joss Whedon version, at the time I was just super happy to see it, and I would never say I loved it, but I enjoyed it, and I think that's purely because I loved seeing Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman on the screen. I go back to it now and go, I mean, objectively over the course of a few years, I was like, actually, this is not a very good movie.
It's trash. It's a really bad movie.
And seeing how badly it was destroyed from what it could have been, obviously, as we now know. But at the time, I was just happy to see the heroes that I loved displayed. So sometimes I think my enthusiasm gets the better of me to be objective, but in a positive way. And I'd rather it go that way, and I can sort of fall out of love with something to a degree, than just always walk in with that idea of like, I'm gonna hate this because it won't be this thing that I want. And there are so many people who go in with that attitude that they set themselves up for failure. You know, they set themselves up to hate it. You know, like and I sometimes that's just the nature of the system though. Like I remember going in to see the fourth Indiana Jones movie that some people say don't exist, and I remember going to see it and being so excited. I just remember sitting there at the end of it and just kind of being like,
yeah, I've been abused. I need an adult. I've been abused.
It was actually, I remember looking across to my ex and we just kind of looked at each other and I was like, so what did you think? And she just went, and I was like, yeah, that's basically that's the only real response. I was like, I didn't know what to make. I was like, what did I just watch? It was atrocious. But like I say, I'd rather go with the attitude of being,
I don't mind that film.
You're an idiot. Get rid. You want me out of here for saying? It's like
I don't mind. It was all right.
Oh, the space between spaces. Are you kidding me? It's like.
I tell you what, though, if ever there is a nuclear war, I'm getting right in my fridge straight away.
Yeah, fridge is for the win, mate. Fridge is for the win because
definitely.
You know, shaken baby syndrome isn't a thing either. Anyway, let's not get into that. But like I say, I would much rather everyone went into the attitude of like, I want to love this. And then if it turned out to be bad, you don't like it. But, you know, try and be positive going into these things. It won't serve. It's just, you're not going to get anything from it if you go in with a negative outlook.
So, I'd say that.
A second.
Sorry. I was just getting myself an almond. I was a bit peckish.
Oh,
but I
sorry for audio listeners for that noise.
It's fine. It's just the same as me talking.
Oh, yeah.
But So I would say give Cowboy Bebop the chance. And it is quirky, it is a bit different, but ultimately I think that you may be quite surprised when you get to that last episode how much you're kind of a little disappointed that it's not going to be. I wouldn't call it a complete waste of time. I did enjoy an awful lot about it, and I really did like the interesting take on the universe that they create. And John Cho is brilliant in it. He really is good in it, and he put his heart and soul into that role, as they all did. And I shall let you know when I've actually managed to watch all of the animation, which is 24 episodes. I'm only 2 in, and I fully intend to watch the movie as well. Which so I'm going to watch the whole lot. So yeah, I'm a
cool.
fan.
Well, I think there's another series out there at the moment that the protagonist is also absolutely fantastic, and it has been renewed for a season 2. We had confirmation from our good friend James Gunn. And that is Peacemaker, isn't it, Ratley? You've been watching this.
Do you really want to
make it?
So if you've seen it, you'll know. So I sat down with my mate Brad to watch Peacemaker finally, the series. Been kind of just not getting around to it. So this is direct sequel to the Suicide Squad from last year. It picks up immediately after that because the end credit sequence of the Suicide Squad was the... you see Peacemaker in a hospital bed, and 2 of the guys are basically sent to be his caretakers. And holy crap. I mean, holy crap. Yeah, it's very adult. Very, very, very.
Just a bit.
Very, very adult. Extremely adult. It has the greatest opening credits of a shit series I've seen maybe for the last hour. I don't know what it is, but the song is in my head. The dance is just...
No, the word you're looking for is the greatest opening ever.
Possibly.
I love it.
But you know what I mean, Craig? It's like,
Yeah.
Me and Brad were saying, I'm going to have to open every door and walk through it like this soon, you know? And, yeah, and I absolutely had a whale of a time with this. I mean, like, there was a...
Don't you think that opening is something out of a 70s TV show? Like, you know, all the
I
cast
don't know,
together in front of the audience. Like,
For our audio listeners, I'd like to describe the dance they're doing, but I can't because it's just stupid.
But that's exactly it. It's just really stupid, and you see it in the intro. The first time we watched it, I went to Brad, apparently the credit sequence is brilliant to this show, and it kind of happened, and we just kind of went, huh? And then like the next time, I was like, just leave it on again. And then like we're both doing like, I don't know, like, you know, and the song is it's so good, and of course. Like I don't want to do spoilers, but like there's a point in the episode where basically Peacemaker goes and hooks up with a woman, and it's a great sequence where he's looking through her record collection, and he finds a song, I think it's by Cinderella if memory serves, and and he puts it on and he starts singing, and he decides to pick up his microphone that he has. It's not a microphone, looks a lot like one, and we were laughing like no,
definitely something else.
Yeah, and honestly. The
What
whole
do you
show,
mean?
John Cena walking around his pants, dancing to Cinderella, singing into something that looks a lot like a microphone but isn't. I honestly did not know how much I wanted to see that sequence on film ever. I absolutely so good. It's such a great show, and there was a line in about the 4th or 5th episode where I thought I was gonna die when it was delivered. We had to like watch it a second time. I just laughed even harder the second time. Like it was painful. I absolutely cannot recommend this enough. It's very off color. It's very adult. It's very funny.
And it's very James Gunn.
Yeah, very James Gunn. Yeah, very. It's that thing where once you let James Gunn off his leash, it gets a bit messy, and it's that 100%. Like if you thought the Suicide Squad from last year was blue, it's got nothing on this. You got nothing at all on this. Like,
What streaming service is this available on?
It's on Sky in this country, which is the worst streaming service.
Well, that
in the
is
country
absolutely
possibly ever.
yes. That is very disappointing.
And I was going to say that because like that is awful. Also, props shout out to Eagly in the show. Eagly is a definite highlight of the character. Eagly is great. You know, I can't. The trouble is, you can't really talk about it in depth without dropping lots of spoilers. Yeah. Because the plot's quite involved. But I absolutely think John Cena has been a delight in this show. Like, for people who are, you hear a lot of talk about wrestlers turning into actors, and obviously we've had a few successes with like The Rock. And you know, it's a few of the earlier ones.
He's not an actor. He's just The Rock. He turns up in movies.
And I've got to say, Cena, he was good in the Suicide Squad, but like the character was. In that big ensemble piece, there wasn't a huge amount for him to do to really like. And you're like, can John Cena carry a series? And he absolutely kills this role. He's brilliant in it, absolutely brilliant. He's properly self-deprecating and like willing to be the butt of the joke, which is great. It's just a lot of fun. And I really
he brings so
like
much
him.
depth to that character that I didn't think would ever be there. You know, you feel so many different emotions. You feel
really sorry
hate
for him.
You feel sorry for him. You start to like him, then you hate him again. Then you feel sorry for him, and it's really really laid. And they've done such a great job. The whole relationship with him and his father again won't go into too much of that. Is just really sad parts, but it's done in. It's almost like they bring you right down with these real sad moments, and then they just kick you in the teeth with like a proper off the cuff, like really out of context moment that's really funny.
Vigilante's great as well. I forgot to say it. Vigilante's amazing. So he has a kind of a sidekick called Vigilante, and when Vigilante first shows up, it's just like it's just silly, and then like it's sillier, and it's so good. Like I mean, I go on and on, but honestly. it's a show where I did not expect to like it as much as I did. I had so many reservations going into it about John Cena and some other bits and pieces. Although I've been loving seeing John Cena do any interviews for it because he's always showed up in the full Peacemaker outfit.
Yeah, with the helmet.
Everywhere in the full Peacemaker outfit with the helmet. And I love it. I think it's a brilliant show. I think there's a lot of fun to be had with it. Like, the sequence where they go to the factory is great as well. Like with the surprise in the factory and all that is it's a lot of fun. The whole thing, just honestly, is spend some time if you're an adult. So Ryan, you can't watch it, and you fancy a good laugh and some comic book fun and that really over the top silliness of comic bookness. It's that 100%. It's a very adult show though, but I can't recommend it enough. It's so much fun.
Give us an out of 10.
So far, I'm 6 episodes out of 8 in, and so far I am going to go 8.5 at the minute. 8.5.
Okay.
I think it's building to a very solid climax. I want to see how it ends. A couple of things were a little telegraphed, but not necessarily in a bad way. Just like that's that. I called it an and I was like, I really like it. And like I say, I think they've developed a great show out of it. I think it's been really fun. Really fun.
So I'd say it's currently a 9 out of 10 for me.
I think when I see how I think the ending is going to be the big teller for me. Whether if it goes out the way I think it might, then great. If not, then we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm excited to. I really want to watch it. I really want to see the rest of it. It's not like a show I've gone. It's all right. I'm sold in. And like I say, I just want to say 8.5 for now because I want to wait to judge the whole thing, the finish and everything. So yeah,
course, maybe we'll get a score next time.
I
finished it.
So excited to see more of it.
Sticking on the TV show and superhero level, I've been watching, and I know Alan has. I don't think you have though, Chris. We're watching Moon Knight with Oscar Isaacs.
I haven't started yet.
Right. So we're now 3 episodes in on Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think me and Alan got slightly different opinions on this. I'll give you my take initially. So, I mean, I'm really enjoying it so far. By far the absolute top end highlight for this is Oscar Isaacs is absolutely brilliant in it. He plays multiple different characters. I suppose it counts. Yeah, he's got multiple characters within him. I won't kind of go any more.
Probably best to say that.
Yeah. And just the way that it's kind of like when you watch Venom, let's say, with Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy plays Venom and he plays himself. And that's what actually makes that film, is purely him just riffing off the other person. It's got a real feeling like that to it. It's absolutely just all around this one character. Supporting cast are okay. I think you've got, there's... Ethan Hawke is currently, he's not had an awful lot to do. I like what I've seen so far, quite sinister. Ethan Hawke's a very, very good actor, so I'm sure it'll be good what comes out of him. And also there is another character in it that's purely a voice, which is, I've completely forgotten the guy's name. Oh, my word. He's in Mythic Quest as the writer. And I can't remember his name, doesn't matter. But anyway, he's got a really great voice and he's fantastic in it. But so far, I'm enjoying it, but it's feeling like a little bit like it's kind of waning around a bit at the moment. Doesn't really know where it's going, but I'm still on board with it. What are your thoughts so far, Alan?
So I'm definitely the other end of the scale. I'm decidedly unimpressed with it. The first episode, I definitely, and we have an agreement on that, is that I all I could feel was like this is the same story as Venom. There's no new tropes in it. It's lacking severely in originality. It's almost like they took the Venom story and plopped it with a bit of an Egypt gloss, and then popped it on top of that. Even the kind of the Egyptian god has a very similar voice to Venom. In the story, but again, I am in agreement with you. Oscar Isaacs does an amazing turn. His performance is what makes this still watchable for me, despite constantly being underwhelmed by the story itself. And I am. There are various like story beats that I'm.
F. Murray Abraham, that's the guy's name.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's cool. I like the way they've done the. I can't remember what's the name of the god. I can't remember what his name is. But
Khonshu.
Khonshu, which is the kind of the god that they kind of work for, Moon Knight works for, kind of thing. And I kind of like the way that that's portrayed. That's cool, but it's just like there's so many story beats in it that there just doesn't seem anything that's kind of coming out at me and going, this is new, this is fresh, this is something different. It's just all the same story beats and the same things going over. The combat's okay. I mean, there was this nice trope in the first episode which was nice in one hand, but on the other hand I kept feeling like I want to see the action where there really wasn't any action, because every time that there was going to be action, the main protagonist would suddenly wake up and go, what just happened? Because he's a player, I don't want to give too much away, but again, you didn't really see hardly anything of the combat, because every time he just kept on waking up going,
spending the money on the effects, so you just
basically. And it felt like I was like, well, where's all the cool combat? And then in the second episode, they then had more of that combat, and I was kind of like, yeah, it's all right. It's nothing amazing. He does that. I quite like the aesthetic of Moon Knight in both versions, to be honest. And again, you'll understand if you watch it. And again, I keep watching it, hoping it will get better. And then the third episode came along, and it was more of the same. For me, there wasn't anything original, nothing new in it. There was a fairly decent fight scene with people on horses and big sticks, and showed the invulnerability of like Moon Knight, but it just seemed like he wasn't able to actually fight them. He just kind of got stuck to the ground, and I was kind of like, well, he's great, isn't he? So overall, and I have to say, very sadly, I don't know the name of the actor off the top of my head, but the actor who played the bad guy in that scene very sadly died skiing a few weeks ago. Yeah, so it just goes to show. Something like that, because he's a model. He's a model as well, and everything else, And it's kind of like, it doesn't matter how much work and effort you put in, just 1 second something wrong, and that's everything taken away. He was at the peak of his success and life, and it's just gone in an instant, just a collision with another skier on the slope. So very sad. But and he was, again, I'm not going to say anything about his character, because I don't want to say anything bad against somebody who's sadly passed away. But the episode overall, I was very underwhelmed, and that's generally how I feel about Moon Knight so far. Nothing has kind of made me go, this is so good, which is, and I know that's a very high bar to set. There are so many things at the moment where it comes out and immediately you expect to be wowed, and that's one of the criticisms I've given against people. And I'm still watching it, and I will watch it all the way to the end, but so far it's not wowing me.
I think, but going back to that point, I think you saying about we've been saying about the attitude thing. You haven't gone into it with a negative outlook. You've gone into it positive outlook. You're not connecting with it. And I think that's the way to approach things like this. And it's the way I try to approach things. I mean, sometimes you always carry biases in with you, and sometimes I find it difficult to shirk those biases. But it is something which you've got to at least try and go, no. Because I know that there have been times in my life where, because of mental health things, I haven't been able to go in positive outlook to things, and it has definitely affected my ability to take those things in. Sometimes I've revisited things going, well, I was in a bad place when I watched this, and I didn't like it. Maybe it was just that, and I watched it and go, no, this was actually just garbage at the highest tier. For example, The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is just a terrible movie. Turns out it wasn't just because I was depressed. It's just a really terrible movie. I probably would have got depressed after watching The Last Jedi if I wasn't before. To be perfectly honest, it's that bad. So there are, got to get dig in The Last Jedi, because why not? But whereas The Rise of Skywalker, I went in with a positive attitude, and whilst I don't love the film, at the time I had a good time with it, because it ticked some boxes for me. Coming back to it now, I'm like, yeah, you know what, it's not great, but I think at the time I enjoyed it again, because I went in wanting to see more Star Wars. I got lightsabers, I got the Millennium Falcon. I was happy at the time, and my bar was so low after The Last Jedi. Yeah. I think just because it cleared that bar slightly, I was like, yay!
And again, it's Moon Knight is Marvel, and it is the fourth phase, so I'm willing to give it the time of day.
It's also got a tough heritage, right?
Exactly, because a lot of the stuff that's come out before it has been, stuff that we haven't seen before. So it's trying to build a niche for itself. It's trying to, it's set itself up as something that you haven't seen before and something new. And I'm not experiencing it yet, but I'm willing to keep sticking with it to see if there is going to be that change. As I said, Oscar Isaacs is fantastic. He really, really is. It's one of his best turns ever. I've seen him do.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, great actor, great performance. And really shows how versatile he is. I mean, I actually questioned, after watching it, whether he was English or American. I didn't actually know, because it's very rare for an American to do a really good English accent, unless it's really posh. Yeah, they do posh accents because it's all a bit cliche. But when it's a London and a genuine London type accent, and I'm just like, is that not how he normally talks then? And he does an American accent? I actually had to check with Craig, and he's like, no, he's actually American, and he does an English accent. And it's a superb turn. It really, really is.
It's like a riff on Frank Spencer.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
I've heard him talk. I've heard him talk, and it is that. Yeah.
He actually apparently took a lot of his inspiration from Carl Pilkington. Of all people, because his character is kind of Carl Pilkington-esque, isn't he? Really?
Yeah, he is. But again, and that
amazing.
adds some element of the comedy too, which is quite fun. It's good.
Not to labour on, but it's amazing sometimes when you hear some of these actors play things. Like, I never forget the first time I heard Brad Pitt in Snatch, and I was like, what the hell is that?
Also, what the hell did he just say? Still don't know. I've got no idea what he said through the entire film. But
That hurts my head. That noise shouldn't come out of that man. That's wrong. You know, it's brilliant. But a brilliant turn here.
Cool. Right, well, that's about it for what we've been up to. It's time now to move on
stuff
to my
all that.
little quiz.
let's get on to the important stuff.
So, this week, you boys don't know what I've done this week. So, it is a quiz, and it's going to be multiple choice. We're going to do it very much like I did last time with Alan and Tom. So we're going to take it in turns, and you're going to both give me an answer to the question out of multiple choice questions, okay? So one person will go first the first time, and the other person will go first the second
Isn't this where Tom had the worst poker face in the world with one answer?
100%.
That's brilliant. He just handed me to that on a plate. It's
It basically did, yeah. And actually, I think it might have been close to. I think it was going to be a draw if he hadn't have given that away. Actually, between the two of you, he proper done himself there. So what I've done, just to try and keep in keeping with the intro, which if anyone's kind of cued in later on, feel free to go back and watch my intro.
No, don't feel free. You need to go back and watch it. I did last week's intro, and I thought it was going to be tough to top, and Craig smashed it. Like that was amazing.
Star Trek. Whoosh. Star Trek. Whoosh.
I might put it up as a little YouTube short as well on the channel. I think.
That was amazing.
So keeping on the ilk of that, it is a Star Trek: The Next Generation quiz.
Oh, I'm going to get slaughtered here.
I don't know, mate. It's been a long time since I've watched it. It's been a long time.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
Right, so there's 15 questions. Okay? So we'll see how far we get through. Okay. So first off, we're gonna go to you, Mr. Ratley. Okay, the previous host from last week. Okay.
Oh, sorry, pull the Tom.
Right, so the first question, so I'm going to get you to answer first, Mr. Ratley. So how many seasons were there of Star Trek The Next Generation? Was there 7, 9, 8 or 6?
7, 8, 9 or 6, is that what we're going with?
7, 8, 9 or 6, yeah.
A7.
7 seasons, you reckon, okay? And Alan?
7.
7 from both of you. And you're both correct. There was 7 seasons. You both were very
In fact, only the original series, which had 2.5 seasons, and Enterprise, before we came to the current format, they all had 7. Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, 7 was the standard.
Cool, that's the answer to my second question. No, it's not. Right, question number 2. It's over to you first, Alan. Why did Q introduce the crew of the Enterprise to the Borg? Was it A, Q was bored and thought it would be fun? Was it B, Q was angry at Captain Picard? Was it C, Q believed the humans and the Borg could be friends? Or was it D, Q said that humans were not prepared for what awaits them?
It was D.
D. Sounds like you're confident there. Are you sure on that one?
Oh, I'm sure.
Sure on that one? Okay.
It's D. 100% it's D.
100% it's D, you think so?
Just D. Final answer, lock it in. Me and Alan get a point, done.
Well, unfortunately, boys, you are both right. Yeah, well done. You do that. Cool. Right,
And let me just for a
Picard
second.
says we will welcome it with open arms, and he's like,
Yes, exactly. And just for some context at the moment, I'll just do a little bit of Guinan for you.
Nice. Lovely.
There we go. It's my best Whoopi Goldberg.
Did they ever explain that, Al? Did they ever explain that?
There is some mythos behind it, but I'm not going to go into it now.
I have
fair
no
enough,
idea
I
what
just
you're talking about, so...
When they first
So why
meet in
Q
10-4,
is an omnipotent being? He's almost godlike. He can do anything, and yet he's scared of Guinan. when she does that. He is very nervous around her, and there's a reason behind it.
He does something back. He does some weird thing with his hand as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to hold,
yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, weird,
Watch that
I know
episode again. Best of both worlds. It's not the best of both. Sorry.
No, I can't remember what
Q
it's
who?
called.
Is it Q who?
No, it's not Q who either. Shall we move on?
Yeah, move
Could
on.
be here a while.
That
Question
episode-
number 3. So this over to you first, Ratley. During the episode Attached, Captain Picard and Dr. Crusher were telepathically linked. What did Captain Picard telepathically tell Dr. Crusher that he would never have never said aloud? Was it Picard said, "I dislike Wesley," "I was in love with you," "I'm hungry," or "I'm thinking about leaving the Enterprise"? So that's "I dislike Wesley," "I was in love with you," "I'm hungry," or "I'm thinking about leaving the Enterprise."
I think it's B.
I'm
Pretty sure it's B.
Okay, so that was "I was in love with you." Yeah, are you sure you're locking that one in?
Pretty sure. Pretty sure.
Okay, no worries. Right, so over to you, Alan. So "I dislike Wesley," "I was in love with you," "I'm hungry," or "I'm thinking about leaving the Enterprise."
Well, everybody hated Wesley. I mean, let's be honest about it. I mean, no offence to Will Wheaton, but he was universally hated. Yes, Will Wheaton. And I've actually met him at Comic Con, and he's not that friendly either, to be honest. Not as friendly as he makes out. But you know, I know it was COVID and everything, but everybody was shaking your hands, and he'd only just do a fist bump, and then he was almost like dismissive. He was too busy to actually talk to you. Didn't feel very welcomed, if I'm honest. But maybe he was just having a bad day. But anyway, moving on from Will Wheaton.
So it's A then, is it?
No. I think it's B. I'm not entirely sure. It could be D, but I'm going to go with B.
You're going to go with B. You're going to play the odds. Okay, so I can tell you are again both correct. It was B. "I was in love with you." So you're doing brilliant. So 3.
I think it's
all
like they have a
currently.
conversation over a campfire where they're talking and like he's like, you know, he never said it out loud, etc.
Right. Question number 4. Over to you first, Alan. During the episode Lessons, Captain Picard falls in love with Commander Darren. What department did Commander Darren lead? Was it astrophysics, security, engineering, or stellar cartography? That's astrophysics, security, engineering, or stellar cartography. That's you first, Alan. He's got
It's
his
the
thinking
first one
face.
or the last one. It's the first one or the last one, and I'm not sure which one it is. I'm going to go with astrophysics.
Astrophysics for Alan. Okay.
Incidentally, in that episode, he plays the pipe from Actually, carry on. I'll talk to you. Carry on.
Chris, over to you. So it's
So I'm with-
astrophysics, security,
again,
engineering, or...
It's 100% either astrophysics or stellar cartography.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just to play the just to spice it up, I'm going to go with D.
Cool.
Okay, right. So I can tell you that one of you is correct and one of you is wrong.
Well, yeah, one of us definitely. you know.
And the person who's correct is Ratley. It was stellar cartography.
Yeah.
it's four.
The pipe is from the episode Inner Light, which is the one where Picard actually, and I don't want to spoil any questions just in case, but it's one of the most loved episodes of any Trekker like me. And it tells Picard basically he gets put on the probe and experiences. Wow, it's a whole lifetime within it, but within that he gets a pipe that he learns to play in that lifetime, and that's actually used in that episode as a little bit of a homage to it. It's fantastic.
And yes, Ryan, we did. We noticed. We talked about it earlier. Thank you for noticing. We're super happy. We're
200
influencers
subs.
now.
We're really pleased with that on
Influencers
YouTube.
now, but
That's
thank
brilliant.
you.
We're all giving up our day jobs, and now we're
But
content
in all
Deliver it
creators.
straight.
Yeah, in all seriousness, though, thank you to everyone who has subscribed or
Yes,
watched, etc.
thank you.
Really, really appreciated.
It's nice to know people are listening to what we're yammering on about.
Yep.
Well, they're subscribing.
Right.
They're not necessarily listening.
Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, you've just spoilt it now, Chris.
Right. Okay, question number 5. This is over to Ratley first. What was the name of the first ship Captain Picard commanded? Was it the USS Tolstoy, the USS Enterprise,
You must know
the
this.
USS Stargazer,
mate.
or the USS Triumph?
Me and Alan both know this, hands down. Oh, no, I think we're going to have to go with the Stargazer.
Stargazer.
Stargazer. Okay, okay. And Alan,
It's the
what's your-
Stargazer.
Again, fantastic poker face there by Chris. Although he knew that.
Mate, Alan knew it, mate. There's no way Alan didn't know
It's,
that.
it's one of those questions. You know it. You know it.
Great stuff. No, you're both right on that one. Right, question number 6. Over to Alan. After Captain Picard gets assimilated by the Borg in Best of Both Worlds, Commander Riker becomes captain of the Enterprise. Who becomes first officer? Is it A, Shelby, B, Worf, C, Data, or D, LaForge? This is you, Alan. So that's Shelby.
Shelby.
Shelby. So that's Shelby from you.
Shelby.
And Chris. So you're both locking in
This
on that
isn't
one.
the time for drastic changes. He needs everyone at their stations doing their best work.
Absolutely.
And Commander Shelby knows the Borg inside and out.
Fantastic.
Yep.
You are both correct. It sounds like you really didn't know that one.
Fire.
Yeah. Oh, mate, that episode, I was at middle school
You
when that
remember?
episode there.
You remember?
Mate, and that cut off there,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
lost my mind.
Yeah. That was just
I
like,
lost my
oh my
mind.
god, oh my god. When's the next season out? When's the next? Oh my god.
BBC Two was like, ah!
Yeah.
Honestly, mate, yeah,
Right.
totally.
Okay, so over to question 7. This is to Ratley first. So also in part 1 of Best of Both Worlds, Commander Riker is offered his own ship to command. What is the name of that ship that is later destroyed by the Borg? Is it the USS Horseshoe, the USS Melbourne, the USS Lincoln, or the USS Atlantis?
I believe it's the Melbourne.
So you're locking in, and the USS Melbourne. And over to Alan. USS Horseshoe, USS Melbourne, USS Lincoln, or USS Atlantis?
It's the Melbourne.
USS Melbourne. And unfortunately, you're both incorrect. It is the USS Horseshoe.
Really?
Yeah, well, according to this thing online.
Okay.
Well,
So both incorrect.
the Melbourne is...
He gets
the
offered
Melbourne
a
at some
ship.
point.
Yeah, he gets offered about 3 commands.
I was
so
going to
one of
say...
them is definitely the Melbourne, but it might
I
not
was
be
going
that
to
one.
say that the Horseshoe one rang a bell, but I couldn't remember which one he gets offered in the Best of Both Worlds. The only one I can really remember was the Melbourne, so there you go.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, you either both would have got it right, but both got it
yeah,
wrong in case this is incorrect. So the scores would have stayed the same.
It's true.
No, I don't
Okay.
doubt it, because I know he gets offered several ships, and the Melbourne's
does.
the only one that stuck with me. I think the Melbourne
Cool,
might
yeah.
have been later now you say that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I am trusting in the person who created this on the internet because obviously, clearly, these are not
It could
questions
be.
that I did.
It could genuinely be.
He says-
when you said the horse one, I was like, hold on. Doesn't he get offered a horse head ship at
Yeah,
some point?
no.
But I don't know for sure. But I thought it was the Melbourne, but I could be wrong.
He says there's only one ship he wants to be captain of.
Is that the Enterprise?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Question number 8. Over to you, Alan. In the episode Deja Q, Q is banished from the Continuum and becomes a human, ironically. Data becomes... human. Ironically, Data becomes his guide in humanity, and at the end of the episode, Q is allowed back to the Continuum. What parting gift does he give Data? Is it A, laughter, B, emotions, C, humanity, or D, love?
Just want to go. Life forms. Life forms.
I know that one.
Forms. Gift of laughter.
The gift of laughter. Alan feeling very confident with that one again.
It's
And
one of the
Mr.
greatest clips of Next Generation.
really
They
is.
are laughing at the ops console. It's a great
Yeah.
moment. It was a great moment in the show, to be fair.
Yes, it
Genuinely
was.
Such a wonderful moment.
So laughter for both of you. Well done, boys. You both got it right. I thought these were going to be harder than they are. You are smashing through these, lads. You really are.
Yeah, natural,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Question number 9 for Ratley. Commander Riker's father had a relationship with one of the female crew members of the Enterprise. Who was she? Is it Councillor Troy, Dr. Pulaski, Dr. Crusher, or Ensign Rowe? This is to you, Ratley.
Dr. Pulaski.
Dr. Pulaski. You sure on that one? Mm-hmm. Okay, and over to Alan. Councillor Troy, Dr. Pulaski, Dr. Crusher, or Ensign Rowe?
Pulaski.
Pulaski. And you are both correct. Well done. I'm not even
No
testing
offense.
you, boys.
No offense to the character. The character. It wasn't her fault. It was a contractual issue with Beverly Crusher's character. And
It's one of the few low spots
yeah.
in the Next Generation.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
because she did a bad job, but because they
No.
never should have taken Crusher.
'Cause-
off.
Was she
Crusher.
the blonde, curly-haired woman?
Yes, she was in season 2.
Yeah,
Do you
and she
remember?
did a fine job. She's actually in the original series as well. I can't remember, but it's such a shame because it's not her fault. But she was universally hated because everybody thought, "Where's Beverly Crusher?" We'd already lost Tasha Yar at this point, so it was like, this is just awful.
I say, and that last question, God, if he had a relationship with Deanna Troy, that would have been all kinds of
That
weird.
would have been
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
Right, question number 10 to Alan. In the episode Chain of Command, what kind of weapon were the Cardassians suspected of having? Was it photon torpedoes, a ship that could fire when cloaked, a metagenic weapon, or killer nanites?
B, a ship that can fire when cloaked.
B, a ship that can fire when cloaked. And Mr. Ratley,
I'm going with Alan on this one.
you're going with Alan on this one. And you are both incorrect on that one. It was a metagenic weapon.
How was it? I thought the metagenic one was in the film. Or am I thinking of something else? Was it metagenic? No, that was I can't remember the name of it. That was that other one that was in. I'm talking Nemesis. What do they call it? Thaleron. A Thaleron radiation weapon. That's what I was thinking. They had a Thaleron cascade. I completely messed that up, didn't I? Got the wrong thing and the wrong thing. What an idiot.
Right. Question number 11 for Ratley. In the episode Gambit, Captain Picard becomes a member of a mercenary crew in search of an ancient weapon. What species did the ancient weapon belong to? Was it A, Vulcans, B, Ferengi, C, Romulans, or D, Cardassians?
So give me the options again.
So it's Vulcans, Ferengi,
Okay.
Romulans, or
Vulcans.
Cardassians. You reckon it's Vulcans? Okay. And Alan, over to you. Do you agree, or have you got a different question? Different answer, sorry.
I'm not sure. So for the sake of, again, for interest, I am going to go for Romulans.
Yeah,
Right.
I was wondering if you did that because I was like, when I said it, I was like, no, hold on, have I just really messed up? But I'm pretty sure it was a Vulcan weapon from when they used to not have control of their emotions, and the Romulans
Makes
were
them
after it.
Romulans.
Well, no, they're still Vulcan.
Well, they're both from this. But anyway, that's semantics.
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay. So one of you is correct. One of you is very correct. One of you obviously is very wrong. So well, the correct answer was in fact Vulcans.
God damn it.
Right, question
I
number
can
12.
see where you were going there, Alan. I do agree. When I said it, I was like, oh, hold on. Have I just made a bit of a boo-boo? So, yeah.
Wasn't sure.
Right. Question number 12 for Alan. In the episode Descent, Dr. Crusher takes command of the Enterprise for a short while. The ship is being chased by the Borg, and the only way to survive is to hide in the sun's corona. What shielding program does Dr. Crusher implement to protect the ship from the high temperatures of the sun's corona? Was it a metaphasic shielding, multi-adjustable shielding, exorbitant temperature shielding, or sunblock?
Exorbitant temperature shielding. Sorry.
Aside from the fact the other three options sound like complete tosh,
Yeah.
it's metaphasic shielding.
Metaphasic shielding for Alan? Ratley.
Do you know what? I think Alan might be right. It's metaphasic shielding.
You are both correct, yeah.
I love the way we're both sitting there going, yeah, cool, stupid answers, because metaphasic shielding's a real thing.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. The last one was sunblock, so you know,
Well,
I'm pretty sure that was a stupid answer.
Right, okay, question number 13 to Ratley. In the episode Journey's End, Wesley Crusher meets the Traveller again. The Traveller told Wesley that his mind was ready for what? Another plane of existence, superior existence, love, or Starfleet? This is Ratley first.
I am
Another
going to
plane
go.
of existence.
I'm not sure if I'm honest with you.
Okay.
Mainly because it's a Wesley Crusher episode. I tend to skip them when I rewatch it. No offense to Will Wheaton, but yeah, seriously, Wesley Crusher, what a gimp. Well, the first one was another plane of existence, wasn't it?
So, another plane of existence, superior existence, love, or Starfleet?
No, it's not Starfleet. I am going to go with another plane of existence.
Another plane of existence. Alan, would you agree, or are you going to go for a different one?
Well, he'd already tried the Starfleet thing, and although he does appear in Deanna Troy's and Commander Riker's wedding, I can't remember which one is it, Generations, in the
Generations,
one where
yeah.
I can't remember the way I have the wedding.
First Contact.
Yeah,
First
but he
Contact.
does show up in the audience in a Starfleet uniform, but it's never talked about. But he didn't. It never in the series. He actually left Starfleet Academy to go travelling with the Traveller. So it's definitely not that one. What the first one, and what was the second one?
So, another plane of existence, superior existence, love, or Starfleet?
So I don't know what superior existence means. I mean, does that mean you get special boots?
Star Trek, mate. What does anything mean, really?
Well, I mean, obviously another plane of existence makes sense. You fool. Number one. I'll go with A.
Number one. And you are, again, both correct. Well done. Question number 14.
I thought
Alan.
for a second it was going to be love. I was like,
I hate you, Wesley.
So this is to Alan. Question number 14. Why does Ensign Roe Lauren prefer to be addressed as Ensign Roe instead of Ensign Lauren? Is it because it sounds better, because it makes her stand out, because she doesn't like her last name, or because it's an ancient Bajoran tradition?
First of all, it's Ensign Roe Laren.
Laren, sorry, not Lauren.
Yeah.
Apologies. Laren.
And it's the last one. It's a Bajoran tradition. They do
Bajoran
their
tradition.
First name
Okay.
last and last name first.
And Chris, are you going to agree?
As
or are you
Alan
gonna say
said, it's
different?
exactly that. It's 100% that. It's like she makes a point of it in, I forget which episode, but yeah, she makes a big point.
It's already established at this point anyway, but
She makes a big deal about how it's her thing.
She does,
like,
yeah.
So.
Okay, well done. Yeah, that's correct. It's just like I'm just assuming these are going to be correct, and you guys are totally going to get this last one now. Now, knowing your level of like expertise across this, so Ratley first in the episode Relics, Scotty from the original Star Trek.
Oh, that's such a good episode, the Dyson Sphere.
Great episode.
Yeah.
His ship crashed due to an intensely strong gravimetric interference. What caused this interference?
Oh dear.
A black hole, a cosmic string, a neutron star,
Or a Dyson Sphere. You knew that anyway. You knew that anyway, Chris.
I knew
you knew it anyway,
man.
man.
I'm just marking
Absolutely.
you both down as correct.
I was as soon as you said it, and he started laughing. I was like, "I'm betting that's the answer.
Yeah.
I put money on
It's
that's the
such a good episode, though. And they
It's
recreate
great
the
episode.
original Star as Enterprise Bridge, and it's so
Oh,
good.
it's
Do
so
you know what?
good.
They didn't have the sets. They were going to redo the sets to have the original set, and they went and a lot of them had been destroyed, and they hadn't realised. So they actually had to go to a super fan of the original series who'd recreated the entirety of the original Enterprise's bridge and borrow it from him to film that episode.
It's, do you know, there's a great moment in that which I love,
Yeah.
which is where he goes to the holodeck and he's like, "Show me the bridge of the Enterprise," and she's like,
Yeah.
specifying. He's like, "The Enterprise, NCC 1701, no bloody A, no bloody B,
yeah.
no bloody C,
Scotty,
no bloody D."
James Doohan.
Yeah, and it was
So
just,
good.
it's such a great little sequence where Picard comes in and talks to him, and there's this really heartfelt moment where you just kind of. It's just a beautiful moment in the show, and what the show does really well, I think. So yeah.
Nice.
that-
Well, the scores after that. We have Alan on 11 out of 15 and Ratley on 13 out of 15. So well done, boys. And it's a win
I'm
for
just
Mr.
going to go
Ratley.
and kill myself for losing a quiz. I did say that Chris always beats me on the quizzes.
Yeah.
And I have to say that, no offence to Chris, but clearly our knowledge is both very, 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 very good on Next Generation. And both questions were both very subjective. I think that one, astrophysics, it could have
The
gone either way.
astrophysics, mate. Honestly, I would have answered stellar cartography either way. That's why I'm thinking. But I honestly, when the options presented, I was like, well, I know it's not the middle two, and I don't know whether it's the other two.
So I don't
cartography.
feel bad losing because it could have easily gone the other way.
Yeah, and again, with the Vulcans and the Romulans, the only reason I went with Vulcans, do you know why I went with it in the end? Was because I remember that the crew member on the ship with him is a Vulcan, and she's the one hunting it because she's from this Vulcan sect who believe the emotions should come back. So I remember that. That was why I went Vulcan.
remember that,
I'm sure she was a Vulcan.
Now you say
that
it,
was the only reason
See,
I went Vulcan.
I've always loved Next Gen, but I've never been into it as much because I just used to watch it on TV with my mum on a 14-inch portable in the kitchen. And I've never really gone back and watched the series that much.
Mate,
just 'cause,
I was hardcore
I
into Next Gen at school.
It is. I remember when I was actually at college and I was 17 years old, and my friend came into college that day, and he said, "I tell you what, I've got like this. I've got these one of those little mini video cassette recorders." And he'd actually got a bootleg copy of Encounter at Farpoint. And I'd been a Star Trek fan already from the original series, watching the reruns. And I was like, right, well, basically, we just immediately skived off college. We just jumped on a bus, went straight back to... And he lived in this like bungalow in this kind of roof space attic where this old lady lived. And we just sat there, crowded around this little tiny TV, watching Encounter at Farpoint. And I was just like, it was just like the most amazing thing. And from that moment on, I was in love, totally in love. And
was that the first episode? Was
That's
it?
the first. It's a two-parter, first two-parter, and the only time you'll see Deanna Troy in the stupid miniskirt as well. After that,
It was a show where I never forget. Like when I first watched it, like I remember we rented it from the video store weirdly because before it came on TV, we'd rent it. My mum was a big Star Trek fan. That's where my love of Star Trek comes from. My mum, she was my dad loved it as well, but my mum was the driving force behind Star Trek. And I remember we watched the original series growing up. I remember watching it at primary school and stuff, and not really getting it so much back then, but loving it because it had space and aliens and stuff. And then I remember watching the Next Generation, the first one, and I remember the first episode. I wasn't totally sold, but as it kind of went on and you start to learn the characters, man, what a great crew, what a great series, and
Good stuff.
It's one of those ones, I've said it before, if they brought out Star Trek Next Generation now, it would have been cancelled. It had good episodes in the first and second seasons, but in the first and second seasons it very much relied on its heritage. There was a lot of similarities,
so many
a lot of similarities and rehashed ideas and storylines from The Naked Now, other episodes from the original series. It was only in the third series, and really the best of both worlds, which you've already discussed, when it really said, right, this is a new show, this is our show, and this is what we can do. And after that, from series that there was episodes in series 3 that were still good, but when it got to that end two-parter, 3 and 4 episode, end of series 3 and beginning of series 4, that's when it was like, wow. From that point onwards, it was just something so different and so new as far as science fiction on television, and it held its own, and it just kept getting better and better every season.
Cool, good stuff.
Right. You know the one question we got wrong about this ship, and when you said it was a horse head, didn't you? Was it
horseshoe? Yeah,
horseshoe. I don't think it was. I think it was the Crazy Horse, because the Crazy Horse and the Agamemnon are at Wolf 359. I think it was the Crazy Horse, and that question answer is wrong, and it's the Crazy Horse.
I thought Horseshoe. That's a stupid name for it.
I don't think it's your fault, Craig. I think I think it's the Crazy Horse, because I remember the Crazy Horse and the Agamemnon mentioned, and I'm sure of it in the best way. I'm pretty sure it was the Crazy Horse, but I could be wrong.
Well, you both answered the same one anyway, so you would have got it right.
Yeah,
or wrong
not the
together,
score,
so the
but I
score
think
would
the
be
Crazy
no
Horse.
different.
That's been bugging me because I couldn't remember that name of the ship, and I was like, Crazy Horse.
But I think Craig wants to finish the podcast, Chris, and we could sit here for another hour.
Now 2 hours and 10 minutes. I think this is the longest.
Should we have a quick chat about Lord of the Rings? Lord of the Rings, right?
Absolutely nothing to talk about, which is absolutely mental. So you've got two options now I'm going to give you. I can bump up the normal outro music and then have a little listen to that when we're saying our goodbyes. Alternatively, you can listen to the intro again. It's up to you. I'll leave it to you.
Well, I can't hear the outro music. I've told you this before for some bizarre reason, so I'd rather see the intro again.
And I'm going to be honest, let's just top and tail it with that absolute... I mean, mine could not have worked as a top and tail. You couldn't do mine as a top and tail. But this, my friend, is just like...
Star Trek.
Let's run it again and leave it on, leave the sound on, the mics on, so we can laugh at it this time, please.
Okay, nice
Let's
stuff.
do that.
Right, well, it's a bye from me. It's a bye from Mr. Ratley.
Goodbye.
And it's a bye from Mr. Allen.
Live long and prosper.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.